This mountain holds so many memories. This mountain decides who shall be king. Mortals and machines forge their legends, but this mountain is always the master. Adventurers come in search of glory, but this mountain dictates the truths they face, questions they must answer from deep within, when their minds are numb and their bodies are spent, when all that's left is instinct and the will to be king.
1 minute signal.
This mountain decrees what trials must be endured, the peaks and troughs, the dangers that lie in wait. For this great bit of road has a terrifying beauty.
Eyes ahead, okay? Eyes ahead.
Heartbreaks, triumphs. Each year brings new memories.
Excellent driving. Doing a great job, buddy.
But this mountain never changes. This mountain has its own code. It is judge, ruler, and kingmaker.
He's done it. Peter Rock.
And only this mountain decides who shall enter its kingdom.
We're underway. Is this history in the making?
Australia's great race has been running through our veins for close to half a century.
A huge moment.
We're unashamedly tribal, either blue or red,
The race has gone off.
Ford or Holden.
This truly is a fight to the flag.
Through the years, we've shared the elation and we've shared the despair.
Slumped over his car.
Scaife is in the wall. Scaife, day is done.
He's got tears in his eyes, he's come so close.
This is just heartbreaking, I tell you.
We've worshipped our idols,
It's Peter Brock!
Thanks for all your support out there too. I love the way you're cheering me on.
and these idols have moved us to tears.
On the day, he farewelled his friend.
We felt the freedom,
Something very special in the history of Bathurst.
and we faced the rage.
Look at these guys.
It's on.
Murphy and Ambrose, they are two heated men. They are two heated competitors.
We've seen fire.
The rear of that car has been barbecued.
We've even seen rain.
It's diabolical up there.
And we've seen sunny days that we thought would never end.
This victory will make them Bathurst immortals. It's a 1-2 for Team Vodafone.
On this mountain, we never know what's up ahead.
Oh, look at that. Oh, man, what an ugly mess.
Such is the wild roller coaster ride of Australia's great race.
Oh, my goodness. Let's roll. And that is an almighty crash.
Explosion. That was a shocker.
Where?
Unbelievably bad one.
Oh, look at this. That is out of control.
Bang.
Those who've chosen to tackle this journey know it is long and unforgiving. This 1,000-kilometre marathon is merciless on man and machine. Risks must be measured and taken. These drivers, the finest in the land, have surrendered themselves to the mystical power of Mount Panorama. Like the pilgrims who follow them, they are on a mission. This is their holy grail. The Peter Brock Trophy, in honour of Bathurst's most revered legend. Holding aloft this trophy is the greatest glory in Australian motorsport. Victory means you've climbed the mountain, but nobody conquers this mountain. It stands supreme in all its brooding majesty. It is ruler and master. Only this mountain decides who shall be king.
It is a mystical, magical place. There's no question it's the Mecca
of motorsport in Australia. So what is it about Bathurst? Well, it's so different, it's so difficult, it's so dangerous, we just can't help but be drawn to it. Hi everybody and welcome to the mountain for the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 here on 7. I'm Matt White. Thanks for your company. Well, today we will decide our pole sitter for the great race. The top 10 shootout is coming up live later on this afternoon. We've also got the Carrera Cup Porsches and the Fujitsu Development Series, so a whole lot of racing to keep us occupied as well. One man who's seen it and done it all around here is Neil Crompton. Afternoon to you, Crompo. This is a fascinating day because the focus for 10 guys is on one lap.
That's right, Matty. Yeah, hi, and hi to everybody. This is a very, very important day. We're all looking forward to it in rather rare circumstances because the lead up to today has been very difficult for just about every competitor in the field. Interesting because you talk about the focus for 10 people, but also stop to consider, Matthew, that for 19 others, they get a final opportunity in practice today as well to get their act right. And there's not a single guy out there who's not talking about the fact that they're lamenting lacking time. We've had weather in the lead up, we've had incidents, we've had all the usual politics and drama. We're setting ourselves up for another great race.
Also had a lot of heavy rain overnight. We'll touch on that with the weather shortly with Tommy Williams. But let's go back through the field, and the back end of the field has been set in qualifying. The session yesterday, it was a tricky session. It didn't really come alight in any way like we've seen over the years previously, but as they rolled out, we didn't know what was ahead of them. 40 minutes of your regulation drama. They didn't leave it behind, did they? A dry track for them.
No, and the really difficult aspect for these guys, as I alluded a few moments ago, is that when you lose so much track time on Thursday to weather and it was varying conditions, you don't really know what you've got when you finally do get a dry track. So this is a whole bunch of guys primed, trying to get a spot in qualifying. Congestion in the pit lane here, James Moffat and also Will Davison. And they're trying to basically do what I would effectively describe as a high jump with no run-up. They've got to try and stand the cars on their nose and produce a lap without having had time to sort themselves out, get the cars tweaked, and of course the conditions are quite weird. We've had a real unusual northwesterly wind influence here as well. Typically it comes from the southwest here at this time of the year. That's affected speeds up and down the straights. All kinds of drivers making pressure mistakes yesterday. This David Reynolds running off down at the final corner. Alex Davison, that is about as close as you want to go to coming unstuck at the top of the mountain. This is all in the closing stages of qualifying, but this man, Garth Tander of the Toll Holden Racing Team, did an awesome job. He reckons this is the best car that he's had at Bathurst. They've gone back to some older settings in that car, ironically, and they appear to be working very well.
Mark Winterbottom had a very late dive at provisional pole. He would end up second on the list. Ford Performance Racing happy but thereabouts, and then Jason Barguana, a big crash at the top of the mountain. He went heavy into the left-hand side and speared off to the right. They've pieced together Jana Living Racing. So Garth Tander, provisional pole sitter, 2:07.664 was his time. He's had pole position here twice, but never been the provisional pole sitter. So he will be the last man out in the top 10 shootout. GT's one of 4 former pole sitters in the top 10. Winterbottom, Greg Murphy and Craig Lowndes, the others. The big news, though, as you go down the list, position 10, Will Davison, car number 6, comes into the top 10 shootout because Lee Holdsworth has been taken out. Car 33 penalised for not going to the weight scales after qualifying. And a devastated man joins us on the panel here this afternoon. Lee Holdsworth, thanks for stopping by. I know you must be shattered because you really had to do everything you could to get into the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the car wasn't great, and so I had to push, extra hard. I've never driven that hard here, so to get into the top 10 and then to be penalised out is, I'm pretty upset about it. It's just crap. But, we thought we did everything right. We never got a call over the radio, or at least the boys never heard it, for us to go to the scales. And we waited out the front with the car out in pit lane, and no pit lane officials came to grab us. So they say we've broken the rule, and we've got a fairly harsh penalty of 5 positions from where I got into the shootout, which was 8th. But it's not just 5 positions penalty, it's potentially 13, because we would have had a crack at pole today.
And that's the important point, isn't it, Lee? I mean, it's that this is one of those that I think bobs up from time to time in our business, where you've really got to look at the balance here of crime versus penalty. This is the most important day of the year. getting a good spot in the grid. You've worked your backside off to get into that very narrow. I mean, it was only 0.47 covering the top 10 yesterday. You made it into that group, and now you've been bundled outside. And did you negotiate afterwards? Was there a lot of discussion? I'm sure there would have been a big pile of emotion. Was there any give or take, or was it absolutely no way?
Well, I felt like chucking the boxing gloves on and going up there and sorting it out myself, to be honest. But you know, the boys put in a dispute, had a bit of an argument with them and tried to sort it out. But you know, in the end, the rule book says what it does, but unfortunately, sometimes I don't think it's right.
And the other point here is that this is about weight checking the car, and there's no way known that this car's 5 kilos, 100 kilos, 150 kilos light, is it? I mean, that's a fact.
Well, the funny thing is we were actually wanting to take weight out of the car because we're running way too heavy. So, you know, it's just a massive disappointment to us, and we're just going to have to fight harder and rise above it all in the race.
All right, mate. Well, you'll be starting from 13th position. We know you've got a lot of fight in you. We know you've got a good car. Best of luck for the race tomorrow.
Thanks very much, guys.
Lee Holdsworth starting from 13th after a drama after qualifying. So provisional pole goes to Garth Tander. Like I said, been on pole twice before. He's won it twice before. Last man out in the shootout. Wonder how he's feeling. He's with Brett's.
Matty, thanks very much. The enviable position of last out in the top 10 shootout GT. It's a nice spot to be in. That was a great effort yesterday.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. When it's weather like this, you're never quite sure whether you want to be first or you want to be last, because it can swing either way, couldn't it? If it's wet at the start of the shootout, then going last is going to be best. But if it's rains halfway through and you're last out, you're hammered. So we're great to be provisional pole after Friday, but we'll just get through the shootout. Hopefully we're in the top couple of rows and then get into it Sunday morning.
GT, great turnaround in the Toll Holden racing team, and you made a lot of Holden fans happy yesterday. What sparked all this? I mean, it's been building and building.
Yeah, look, we've been building, and you know, one of the things we've been trying to work on is making the car fast when we roll it out of the truck straight away when we get to the track. We did that at Phillip Island. The car was very good, and we had a strong result there. And the car was very good when we rolled it out of the truck here when we finally got some dry running yesterday morning. So, yeah, that's made things better. There's great morale within the team. We are building. We know we've got a lot of work to do and a long road ahead of us to get to where we feel we need to be. But it's all about rebuilding the team and getting back to the top, and we're on the road so far. But Bathurst is Bathurst. You forget about all that other stuff, and we're here to win this weekend.
GT, mentally, the pressure of going out last in the shootout, is it tough, or would you rather go earlier and just post a time?
Oh, I'm not sure. I've never been provisional pole here at Bathurst, but from other shootouts, you know, going last doesn't bother me. So, you know, one of the beauties is that you know what lap time everyone else has done. You feel that you know what you're capable of, so whether you can match it or not. So at least that way you've got all the information available to you when you run last. So we'll have to wait and see how it all goes, but I don't mind the pressure. I actually quite enjoy it. So look forward to the shootout. It's the best shootout of the year, and it's the most pure run where you just get absolutely out there by yourself and hammer it and see how you go.
We can't wait. Final question. I know you're camping out the back of the garage here with wife Leanne and young daughter Scarlett. How'd you sleep last night? Did Scarlett let you sleep through?
Yeah, she did. She's been sleeping through for a couple of months. She's 3 months now, so she's been sleeping through since she was 1 month. So Leanne and I are very, very lucky that we've got a good little girl there, and she's sleeping through, so she knows the rules at Bathurst. Dad's got to get her plenty of sleep.
All the best today, GT. Thanks.
Thanks, Brett. Cheers.
Well, the fans are coming through the gates thick and fast. We have had a lot of rain overnight, but right now it's not looking too bad. The forecast is for showers and a top of 18 degrees. Now, I'm going to be pretty busy today. I'm going to be catching up with the co-drivers. I'm going to find out a little bit more information on them. I'm also going to have a chat to Grant Denyer and Cameron Waters. Cameron is the youngest driver ever to take on the Mount Panorama circuit. Now, speaking of Mount Panorama, I'm heading up there pretty soon to go and judge the 4X Gold Retreat competition. Can't wait for that one. Apparently it's pretty muddy up there on the mountain, so I might be looking all right now, but expect me to be a little bit dirty later on.
Wouldn't expect anything else. Tommy Williams doing what he does best, getting down and dirty at the track this weekend. After the break, the Porsches will hit the track. This is Shootout Saturday at Mount Panorama.
It's a very, very nervous time, those few minutes leading into the shootout when you're sitting in the car, strapping your belts on, your heart's racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It's time to turn up the heat. When you make the shootout, there's one car on that track and you can't hide.
From the moment you start the lap to the moment you finish, you don't take a breath, and it's just one wild ride that doesn't compare with anywhere I've ever been.
This shootout is a big deal.
To get that one lap right is very hard to do.
Look at Lowndes' maximum attack. There's nothing left.
Down Conrod Straight. Watch the splits. Everyone that's around, team members, co-drivers, everyone's there riding with you. Internally inside the drivers, it's so important to get your car around that track as fast as anyone else.
Mate, good effort. P2 for now, P2.
The shootout lap at Bathurst is very, very special. It's the only time you're at one in the car, no one's annoying you, no radio chat, fresh set of tyres, out there on your own, no worries about traffic, and drive the car as fast as you can. And
It's pretty nice and neat and tidy, very committed, good job.
The whole of Australia is watching. It's our biggest race. You go past the big screen, you can see yourself on the big screen, the helicopter's running beside you. It's a pretty insane feeling, and definitely the best lap of the year is the shootout lap at Bathurst.
Quite simply, the most incredible lap you're ever going to see.
With Bathurst, it's not only just the unbelievable history and the legends that have been made there and the years as a young kid growing up watching that incredible race. It's actually the challenge of not only the race, the circuit, but the whole week. You know you're in for one hell of a day. There's no way to hide the emotions you've got about the job ahead of you. 1,000 kilometres around there is always full of highs and lows.
And he's made big contact up at Reed Park.
That's why it's the most rewarding race to win in the world.
Still with me, mate? Just have a few deep breaths.
This event, regardless of what happens in your year, is the most important race of the year, bar none.
Holden has hit back at the mountain. Garth Tander and Will Davison are the 2009 champions.
Winning that race in 2009, that feeling will be with me forever.
Garth Tander and Will Davison.
It's certainly something I'm extremely proud of. There's not a day that goes by where I don't dream of winning that race.
Will Davison's already had a bit of luck go his way this weekend. Car 6, the big beneficiary of a post-qualifying drama involving car 33, Lee Holdsworth, taken out of the top 10. So car 6 goes in. These guys were on the podium at Phillip Island. And Will, of course, a former winner here back in 2009. His co-driver, Luke Youlden, on the podium here as well back in 2003. It was a long time ago, Barrett's, when he was third with Steve Ellery.
Yeah, exactly right, Matty. And they know they're lucky about the top 10 shootout today. Luke, that is a stroke of good luck and a great fortune for you guys.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it really put the cat amongst the pigeons if Wilbo puts it on pole this morning. I'll tell you what, that'd be awesome. A lot of people be a little bit dirty on us for that if that happens, I can tell you.
That is the plan, though, isn't it? I mean, now that you've got this second chance, you're in there, you've got to make the most of it.
Oh, definitely. We've got a good chance. I mean, we probably made a couple of wrong decisions with the car yesterday, and now we've had a chance to obviously look at car 5. Frosty went pretty well yesterday, so we've had a look at that data. Will tune up his drive, and we'll tune the car up a little bit, and there's every chance we can get pole, that's for sure.
Luke, how are you and Will going as a combination? How's it working together?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we're both pretty sort of relaxed characters, and we get along really well. I've known Will for a long time. We used to race against each other in Formula Ford, and so it's good to be partnering with him. He's a little bit more my sort of shape as opposed to Frosty's shape from last year, so the seat's probably a little bit better. So it's working out pretty well so far. Obviously, we're third at Phillip Island a couple of weeks ago, so pretty happy with that start, that's for sure.
Well, good luck with the shootout today. We know you'll be in here watching, very excited, so it should be great.
Yeah, I'll be cheering him on, that's for sure.
Now, I'll tell you a guy who's really excited, Luke, is Josh Williams. Josh, congratulations. Josh's 21st birthday today, but he's also the Trading Post race recruit. Congratulations. Now, just to explain what happened, Josh, you were in the competition. Ford Performance Racing came to you in Shepparton and said you have won and you were coming on the team to finish your mechanics apprenticeship.
Yeah, definitely. They surprised me at my workplace and, completely shocked when Tully was standing there and with a shirt and cap and presented me with the apprentice award. So,
and Josh, tell us about the weekend. What's happening at the moment? What are you doing in the team?
There's a lot of media involved at the moment, just getting the Trading Post name out there. But for me, it's just soaking up the atmosphere and trying to get all the spectator out of me before I start work next year.
Hey, not a bad birthday present.
Oh, definitely. Mum and Dad can't really top this, so they just gave me money.
Fantastic, love it. All the very best, guys. Good luck, Luke. Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Now, I get asked a lot as we approach this top 10 shootout, how is it that 2 minutes and 10, 2 minutes and 11 as sort of a race time. Yet in qualifying and shootouts, we see 2 minutes and 6, 2 minutes and 7. Let's have a little bit of a look at what you can do to make a fast top 10 shootout car. Now, I've written down a few things here. Now, there's way too much to go through, but I'll just show you a couple of the key elements that I know these teams will be doing before they approach this one-lapper. First of all, our engine. Now, remember, economy doesn't matter for this one lap all of a sudden. So they'll be pumping, via the engine management system, as much fuel and as much ignition as this thing will cop to make maximum horsepower. The other thing they'll be doing is preheating the water in the engine and the oils, right, to up around 80 or 90 degrees centigrade. They will also preheat the oil in the gearbox. They'll preheat the oil in the differential. So all that runs freely, less friction, more speed. Now, the big, really critical item is tyre contact patch. So we've talked about this before, what they'll be doing for this one-lapper, because this is a nice fresh rubber, and they would have done a lot of work on optimising the pressure, because you only get, remember, that outlap to get it right. So they'll roll this over a little further. They'll adjust their cambers, because there'll be fresh grip on one lap. Remember, that tyre will bend under a little more underneath here, so you need to have it over a little further. So they'll do that for maximum adhesion in the middle of a corner. Now, fresh brakes will go on the car. Fuel-wise, remember, 120-litre fuel tank, but for this event, one lap, probably only put 10 or 12 litres in to do an out lap and an in lap and a flying lap. Now, what that'll do, obviously, with less weight in the car, that'll rise the rear ride height, so they'll lower the rear ride height. And that does a couple of things. Lowers the centre of gravity, which is really nice. And by lowering the car, you actually reduce the frontal area from the car. If you look from the front, less wind resistance. To have also less wind resistance or drag, they might lower this rear wing. A little less downforce, but remember, we've got more grip from the tyre, so we'll get a little more speed from that. But amongst all of that stuff, the really big ticket item, if I open up the car, is inside here. And let me tell you, that's this bloke. Because all of that stuff aside, there is nothing harder in the game than this one lap at Bathurst. You have to drive the car on the absolute limit of adhesion. And I mean that, the limit of adhesion on every brake application into every corner. You have to drive the car on the limit of adhesion, exiting every corner, no wheel spin, and you must drive the car on the limit of adhesion in the middle and on the way through every corner. Now, when you don't have the opportunity to go out and do bunches of laps prior to doing this, I can't tell you, from a commitment point of view, how hard that is to get it right without a single mistake.
Well, Russell Ingall will start from 25th on the grid. He's about to go in and practice in the Super Cheap Auto Holden behind us. His teammate, Jack Perkins, is with me. Jack, Russell expressed he's a little bit disappointed with that result yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to qualify as best you can, and 25th is probably disappointing, but Russell's been here long enough. This is his 20th start here. He knows what we need to win the race, so we're working on a race car now, put qualifying behind us, and we'll get on with the job tomorrow. The good news is for you guys is you're a great team together. Yeah, absolutely. We can do 14-second driver changes. We're the same height. We like the car to handle the same way. At Phillip Island, our pace was identical. You know, we were very evenly matched, and I've only done 3 laps in the dry in this car. Luckily, I got the Fujitsu car, which is going great as well, but I'll jump in this afternoon, or now, with a full tank of fuel and see how it goes race trim.
Well, you're a really exciting combo for the weekend, Jack. All the best.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
General Manager. Okay, I'm down here with Adam Perry, General Manager of Motorsport for V8 Supercars. We saw Lee Holdsworth, quite controversial there, I've got to say, Adam. I don't know if you saw his words, but quite damning of the decision that saw him pulled out of the shootout. Now, I'm sure you have another view, and I know everyone at home would love to hear it.
Always have another view, Larko. Look, mate, it's an old standing rule that if you're called by the category technical manager to have your car weighed, it's done over the race management channel. We called 5 cars. 4 of the cars attended without a problem. They didn't. It's a requirement that teams listen to race management channel. They obviously couldn't have been, so they didn't attend, so a penalty's applied. I mean, he can carry on as much as he likes, but let's face it, it's his team that's made the mistake here, not Supercars, and actually the stewards are showing some compassion anyhow, because he could have been elevated to the rear of the grid rather than losing 5 grid spots and not having the opportunity to be in the shootout. You know, it's just bad luck. Not bad luck, it's a mistake on their behalf, not ours.
So it sounds to me that if we can summarise, really the obligation of the team to listen to race management carefully and not be distracted by anything else is critical in all of this.
Of course it's critical. I mean, everything's critical. We have a large rule book, as you know. There's a lot they've got to comply with, and this is just another one of them. They need to be on their game.
All right, Chop, it's okay, mate. We'll have a red wine tonight and everything will be good again.
Well done, Larko. That was Adam Perry, the General Manager for Motorsport for V8 Supercars. So this is a critical practice session. Co-drivers getting plenty of time. The top 10 cars will be doing a lot of tweaking, and the wipers are already moving. The V8s are on track. We'll take a break. The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 and come right back. Welcome back to the mountain, where it's not good news if you're a driver at the moment. The rain is starting to come down. Here's Steve Owen. He'll be the second man out in the shootout later on this afternoon for VIP Pet Foods. And that rain appears to be getting heavier, Cronco.
It is, and it couldn't come at a worse time, and that's been the story of the week so far, because I've scanned up and down the pit lane. Everybody was using this opportunity. Here's Paul Morris at the wheel of that car at the moment, using the opportunity now to do two things, depending on who you are. If you're in the top 10, you are going to do a shootout blast, a proper rehearsal, come in, put a cold set of tyres on, do your cycle up lap and then hook into it. And then you're going to go on to full tank running. And of course, if you're outside the top 10, you were just going to get on with the whole business of trimming the car for the race, because they've done so few dry laps. The problem is, almost on cue, as the cars left the end of the pit lane, down came the rain. And it's that thing, Matt, that you see here from time to time. Typical spring. It's neither one nor the other. It's not solidly wet, nor is it dry. There's no way you'd get away with a slick, and all you're going to do out there at the moment is hurt your wets. And because of the constraint on the quantity available of wets this weekend, all they'll do in this session now is what we call road them, which is just skin the surface of the tyre ever so gently and then put the thing back in the garage.
Hey, Neil and Matty, just further to what you were saying, you chat earlier with V8 Supercar officials. I'm in Fujitsu Racing Garage at the moment, and they're in operation mode at the moment. They're working through practice, but behind the wall here, Gary Rogers has got the paperwork out, and he is preparing his case to go back to officials. Gary, just bring us up to date. The officials say they called your car yesterday to come to the scales. You didn't respond, and really you've actually got off quite lightly.
Well, I suppose that's a matter of opinion. I mean, I've had the same guys work for me for nearly as long as I've been around, and they're not liars. I mean, we've been called before. We've always gone there. I mean, we're not cheats. The blokes, truly, the stewards, they might have the best of intentions, but to be blunt, they know nothing about racing, how it works, the work that goes on in pit lane. And the fact of the matter is, we didn't hear it, and also we've had other teams nearby us who have spoken to us who said they heard nothing over the radio either. And normally they would send someone to go with you. No one arrived to go with us, so we would have gladly gone down. There was no reason not to go.
So, Gary, what do you do now? Do you keep fighting it?
To be quite frank, I'm about officialed out. You know, I don't mind a fair barney, but the fact is, you know, you need to have a reasonable point of argument, and you just can't have a satisfactory argument with, and I best be careful of the words I choose here, but believe me, I deal with people like this all day long. We need some change.
I'll let you keep working, Gary. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and look, Adam Perry's point that we heard with Mark Larkham earlier is straightforward. He's quoting the rule book, and you can also understand Gary's side of the story. For me, I think what really matters here is what's the intent of the rule. The intent of the rule is to weigh the cars to ensure that nobody's cheating, Matt, and that the cars are underweight. Now, look, the fact of the matter is the car's not underweight. So I think no reason why you shouldn't be dragged in, perhaps given a talking to, the car checked, but I'm just not sure whether it's actually appropriate at this event to pluck you out and hurt you to the extent that they have. But anyway, everyone's got their point of view on it.
Behind the wheel of car 77 coming into pit lane is Cameron Waters, the 17-year-old who won a reality TV show competition to get that drive alongside Grant Denyer. Shannon's Mars Racing, car 77. And he's going for his P plates on Wednesday following this. Of course, he's got his racing licence, so he's good to go. But he will make his V8 Supercar and Bathurst debut tomorrow when the race begins, and become the youngest man to do so at the mountain.
Yeah, Neil, you're on the money there before. The activity in pit lane down here, funny, it's, you know, raining on one side of the circuit, a little sprinkle here, but it's effectively dry at this end. You can't achieve much, which is very, very frustrating, particularly co-drivers that haven't had a lot of laps around here. So what teams are doing, as you suggested, a lot of them are putting on their wets, using the opportunity to knock that greasy wax off the face of their wets. So should they have to use them tomorrow, they'll be fresh, grained up and have a little bit of grip the moment they bolt out the gate.
Taking a look at David Brabham here, behind the wheel of car number 4, and his co-driver Alex Davison did absolutely everything he could to get into the top 10 yesterday and just couldn't make it. He ended up in 12th spot and was complaining about being balked on his final flying lap. But the only complaints they've got are coming from the skies right now. It's tiptoe stuff around the mountain. This session is really being hampered by the weather. As you can see, we've got rain on our lens, we've got rain in pit lane, and it's definitely been heavier at the top of the mountain as you'd expect. But it's slippery all over the place. Car 21 heading out the Fair Dinkum Sheds entry of Carl Reindler and David Wall. So a lot of the guys now are taking the opportunity to practice driver changes, get down to work in pit lane, which is dangerous in itself because it's just as slippery in there.
Yes, and they're also spending quite a bit of time, in many cases, actually rehearsing their brake pad change, and in some cases they're doing the full brake disc, the brake rotor itself, and also the pads. So full rehearsal opportunity and cautioning the drivers as they come in, because that concrete, as Paul Morris gets out and Steve Owen leaps in, has much different grip level to the asphalt, and they're all those little things that you've got to manage, because if you overshoot, you pit by half a car length. All the guys have got to move the gear. Here's a brake pad change as we speak, and you can see there that the disc is standing up in the tray just in the foreground. So out come the hot pads. You pull the disc off the hat, another cold disc standing by. Pads in, clips will go in. It's a pretty quick process these days. They do it easily. We will see, assuming a dry race, or at least partially dry, tomorrow we're going to see probably many of the teams doing a couple of these just to make sure they've got good brake bite and brake performance throughout the race to keep the pedal consistent.
Alan Simonson's partnered up with 4-time winner Greg Murphy again this weekend for car 11. Danish-born driver, now based in Monaco. Barrett's.
Matty, behind us, as you can see, Jamie Whincup. The car is just up on jacks at the moment in the garage, and his teammate Andrew Thompson is with me. And Andrew, conditions not great. Look, there's been an interesting bit of conversation between you and Garth Tander over the last week or so about your performance in the wet. A bit harsh.
You know, it's everyone's got able to say what they want. Garth, you know, that's it. I've had a bad run in the wet before, so Garth's just jumped on that and said what he said, but I'm not too fussed about the whole thing. We'll see what comes tomorrow during the race, whether it's going to be wet or dry. But I'm comfortable either condition. But yeah, you know, he's said what he said, and you know, I'm not too fussed about the whole thing.
You don't feel like you've got something to prove this weekend?
No, I've got nothing to prove. I'm here to, you know, do a job for Jamie and the team, and that's it. I'm not here for anything else. I don't need to prove anything. You know, I just got to do my solid job and hand the car back to Jamie and let him finish it off. So I'm not the lead driver here or anything. I'm here just to, you know, take the car around and give it back to him and let Jamie finish the race off.
Good stuff, Andrew. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Tomo's got enough runs on the board to stack up. He's not a full-time campaigner this time around. He won the Fujitsu race yesterday. He's won the Fujitsu round here last year. He finished top 10 in his debut back in 2007, and he's partnered up with Jamie Whincup. So he's got a few things that tick all the boxes.
Matty, I might just try and grab a couple of these drivers that are standing around really not doing much. Hey, James, it's a bit of a bugger this session, isn't it, mate? It's a whole lot of nothing. I mean, what was your plan for this session? Because you're not going to be able to affect it.
Oh, we had all shootout plans and all this sort of stuff to run through some simulations, but the weather comes in and throws that all up in the air. So poor old Cam's out there roading wets and just cruising around. So Garth and I are here high and dry, and glad we're not in the car at this point.
This is why you have co-drivers go, buddy, it's raining, you get out there.
Yeah, well, it is hard, because up to this point, the last time the cars ran, it was a qualifying session, so we're focusing on a little bit of speed. Co-drivers, because of the cancel session and the wet sessions, haven't had a lot of quality time. This is not good news.
No, well, I mean, for us, it's not so bad. Nick gets to drive in the Fujitsu race, so he got some dry running there. But, yeah, for the majority of the guys, you know, dry track time's gold, but it is what it is. You can't change the weather.
Now, it's a shame you didn't have headsets on, mate. Tomo was just up the other end in Triple Eight giving you a good old slamming.
Good on him. That's good. Great. Yeah. No, that's good.
Can't wait to see that play out on the track.
Something might happen in the warm-up.
Thanks, boys.
You got any more trouble to stir down there, Larko? This is on board car 1 of James Courtney and Cam McConville.
Quiet practice session, bit of rain around, so Beretta and Larkham, their mission is to try and get 2 drivers and a punch up in the pit lane. We can all see through it.
They're going okay. It's a great shot, this one. In the footwell, looking at Cam. We've been watching James Courtney's work throughout the year. And this bloke's got a lot of experience at this circuit. He was 3rd in the other Holden Racing Team car last year with Garth Tander, so it was quite an interesting decision for HRT to split the pairings, put Cam with James Courtney and put Nick Percat, the rookie, with Garth Tander. That's great to see. The Jana Living entry back on track, although it's heading back to pit lane. It was all banged up yesterday. Jason Bargwanna into the wall at the top of the mountain.
Matty, I'm down here with Brad Jones, team principal of BOC Racing. Bradley, these are difficult, these sessions, aren't they? I know you're a guy that likes to plan your sessions and have a game plan. Hard to sort of play it out now, isn't it?
It's very difficult. You know, in the wet conditions, you usually end up with 2 drivers arm wrestling over which one isn't going to be in the car. So, but we've had a few problems with the Jana Living car, so Bargs is out in that, making sure that the car feels okay. It's going to get slower and slower as time goes on, so really it's just about getting miles up and getting ready for these sort of conditions on Sunday.
And, I mean, in typical fashion, mate, you guys seem to roll out nearly every year with a clever little strategy. What do you got up your sleeve, mate? You don't have to give us all the detail, just some.
Just a fast car, hopefully. Can you see it up there?
All right, mate, good luck for Sunday.
Thanks very much, Argo.
Bradley Jones for Team BOC. So this will be the order of this session. Craig Lowndes ready to jump in. Car 888. Mark Scaife has been out and about, and here he comes on cue.
Craig was a little unhappy with the car yesterday. In qualifying, he said, look, it was a car that was going to make it in the top 10, but it was never a car that was going to head the top 10. He said just too nervous in the rear, and so one of the people that was really desperate for some dry running in this session was Lowndes.
Doing a driver change here, driver change only, so I need you out. Going to put Lowndes in. Loosen those belts for me, disconnect your helmet there. Check brake bias and bars. Radio out.
So the instructions now, Mark has disconnected. He's got everything sorted. All the belts are loosened. And when he comes to a stop, he'll pluck those belts off. There he is, just undoes the knuckle. And it's very important to make sure he gets the timing right on that, because with all the onboard cameras these days, you can't fudge it. The chamois on the ground there to make sure that the incoming driver doesn't have water on his feet, slipping off the pedals.
Right, Cracker's got you there. Just doing a driver change. Pit lane's good. You'll be good to go once you drop you. Away you go.
You see that Craig grabs first gear and then he just gets the belts nipped up, Matt, and the most important thing there is before he leaves the lane, he needs to make sure those belts are over the top of the hands device, because if they've fallen off the side, it's a drama. And once he's actually settled and launches away, then he tensions them up to a comfortable point. So Mark Scaife on the left, Jeremy Moore on the right. Behind is Roland Dane. John Russell further behind them. He looks after Andrew Thompson in the development series, in the Fujitsu series. He has been involved in V8 Supercar over a period of time. Most recently, just came back from a stint with Williams F1 in the World Formula One Championship.
Craig making his 18th Bathurst start tomorrow. Scaife's will be number 25. You think of the amount of times they've done it before. He saved that one okay.
Yeah.
The amount of times they've done it before, and yet the routine has to be so specific in pit lane. Those driver changes, they run them through like they're the first ones they've ever done.
Cold tyres, Matt. That's why I held my breath and jumped up and down back there at the cutting, because it was virtually at walking speed, but when the tyres are incredibly cold, puts his foot on the brake, changes the direction of the car. It didn't respond at all, and it was heading straight for the concrete wall. And whenever, as a driver, you see that shine at Mount Panorama, you've got to treat the racetrack with a huge amount of respect.
Look, you guys know Mark Scaife better than anyone, but it's quite amazing when he comes in here. You often see a driver get out of the car, go and hang up their helmet, and then start to refresh themselves. Scaife, he's still in his helmet, just taken his gloves off, has gone straight to Jeremy Moore to start the debrief. We might try and grab a word. Scaife, initial impressions out there for today?
Yeah, look, very, very slippery when it's like that, Brett, because the cars are basically set up for qualifying, so they're stiffer than they would normally be, and then you run them in the rain. So pretty wild. But almost useless when it's like that, because it was quite wet at the top and quite dry down the bottom. So you don't actually get a real indication of what it's like.
I wasn't too good with the sign language, but when you came in, there was a lot of gesturing to Jeremy Moore. What do you want to change in the car?
Well, as a wet car, the tyres that we've got on the car now have been used the whole weekend. So they're pretty much worn out. So when they're like that, they have a lot of oversteer, so there's not much rear grip. So I was saying that the tyres for the race will be a lot better than that.
As defending champions this stage of the weekend, you're feeling good about where you are and how everything's coming together?
Yeah, look, I'm happy that the it flows nicely. What I'm unhappy about is for Craig in qualifying yet, the car doesn't respond to the new tyre well enough. So we saw yesterday that we were basically a second slower than we were last year. So the track's not as grippy, and the car, we haven't tuned the car to suit the conditions yet.
Can you get that right for the shootout?
Well, again, it'll be dependent upon what the day's like. So, you know, it's hard to predict what the circuit grip's like, but when it rains like this, it washes all the rubber away, cleans the circuit and makes it worse.
All right, mate, we'll let you cool down. Thanks, Gabe.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, guys, a young chap I've been looking for a little while. I've just found him. Davey Reynolds, Stratco Racing. Davey, just want to have a chat to you, mate. Top 10 shootout. This is a big ticket item, and I don't want to put the mocker on you, but great lap yesterday. Are you going to just try and replicate that lap, or how are you going to approach this? How are you going to approach this one lapper, mate?
Hang it all on the line and go for pole. What else can I do? It depends if it's wet or dry. I haven't really done many wet miles around here, so I haven't done many dry miles here either. So, you know, it's a bit up in the air at the moment as to what we do setup-wise for the car for the shootout.
And from where you are in your career, because definitely you're a rising star, mate, we know that, but would you be happy to bring the car back somewhere in the 10, or you really want to go out there and try and nail it on the front row?
Mate, you know, I'm here to win the race, and I'll work backwards from there.
Good answer, correct answer. Well done, mate. Good luck.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Well, Steve Johnson will start from 24th on the grid tomorrow. Steve, not ideal, not where you really wanted to be.
No, Brett, it's definitely not. It's pretty disappointing. We've had a pretty strong year up until Phillip Island with not only race results but qualifying as well, and we certainly have dropped the guard a bit there. So we've made some pretty major changes overnight. We've had some guys fly down from Queensland with some bits from work, and bought a few bits off 888, and you know, they're on today. So we really would have ideally liked a dry session this morning to test it in the dry. The car seems to be fine in the greasy and the wet, so hopefully we can you know, have a dry warm-up tomorrow morning and really get to know the car, and hopefully that's made a big difference.
The good news is, as you know well, it's a long race tomorrow.
It is a long race, you know, and you just got to look at Garth and Cameron last year. I mean, their door fell off. They were just about a lap down. Cameron's still on the grid, so you know, it doesn't matter really where you start as long as you're at the right end of the field at the end of the day. And you know, I'm pretty sure the Jim Beam crew can get the strategy right, and we can get the car sorted hopefully, and you know, we'll be up there tomorrow. Don't worry about that.
Good stuff. All the best, Steve.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Stephen Johnson been doing this a long time as his co-driver David Bernard heads out in the wet. Take a break from the mountain. More after this.
We're riding on board here with Jason Bright, blazing through the dipper in these terrible conditions at the top of the mountain. We've been watching him here for the last lap or so. Curious to see what sort of a lap time he puts together here, because he's actually pressing on with it, and I'm beginning to get the feeling, as I'm sure many in the paddock are, a little bit of oversteer in second gear off Forrest's elbow, that what you see is what you get. And if we're going to get more of this, there's eventually a point where you've got to say, okay, this is what our weekend's about. It's no good standing around hoping that it's going to be dry. They've got to balance that up against trying to preserve the car. We don't want to knock the gear around the day before our biggest race of the year, but you've got to get a read in these conditions and understand whether or not you can go motor racing with this car for somewhere towards 7 odd hours tomorrow. So some great stuff here, watching Bright just tippy-toeing with 600 plus horsepower, a tonne and a half beneath him, and pushing quite hard at the moment. No doubt trying to get a bit of a read. We've watched him fiddle around in the cockpit. He's changing brake bias. He's also fiddling around with the anti-roll bars in the car. That lap there has actually put him into the top 10. He's 9th. And he did give you an indication of just how slow it is out there at the moment. They're 20 seconds off the dry money. He did a 2:27. There is car number 33 rotating, pointing in the wrong direction. Lee's at the wheel there at turn 1, Lee Holdsworth. So Bright's time.
mopped up. How many more laps do you want me to do?
Mate, can you do a lap position 3, please? Position 3.
That position 3 that they're talking about as we go to look at Lee in detail is a mixture setting on the fuel trim of the car. So they're trying to get a read for what the fuel burn is in these conditions so they can apply these numbers to tomorrow's race.
Yeah, that third came with his regular teammate Michael Caruso back in 2009. I reckon Lee's letting off a bit of steam after what happened after qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, he might be letting off some steam, Matty, but his teammate Greg Ritter is pretty relaxed about it all. That was probably not the best thing we wanted to see, was Lee heading off there at turn 1, Greg.
No, not the best, but you know, unfortunately with the wet tyre situation, our practice wet tyres aren't real good. So, you know, I suppose it's nice to do it now, not in the race.
Behind us here in the office, there's a bit of a barney going on about Lee and you moving down the order out of the shootout, but for you guys, it's just getting on with the job.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can't change what's happened, and you know, it is unfortunate. You know, we miss out in the shootout, but it's a very long race on Sunday, and starting position is almost irrelevant.
How's the feeling between you and Lee? How have you come together as a team?
Yeah, quite good. You know, like I'm very relaxed and fit in with the team very well, and Lee's quite a relaxed guy as well. So, you know, it's quite a good fit. The seat position's exactly the same, and you know, I've been with the team quite a long time, and get on with the guys good, and yeah, no, it's all good.
Well, good to talk to you, Greg. We'll let you get out there and enjoy those conditions.
Cheers, thank you very much.
I've managed to find Johnny McIntyre, who so successfully has been partnering Shane Van Gisbergen, both Phillip Island here last year. Mate, conditions out there at the moment, I'm frustrated, mate. I'm not even driving the car.
Yeah, well, I'm frustrated too because I haven't really had a dry lap and the thing. But look, the car's really well balanced. I did 3 or 4 laps that I was very happy with, and so I said to Dave, let's not waste our tyres because obviously we haven't got too many of them, and put Shane in the car, get him comfortable, and finish the day off with a car in the shootout.
Mate, I reckon you're a red-hot chance. Let me just grab, so you made a reference to Dave. This is Dave Stewart, the engineer here. Just grab a quick word with Dave. Dave, this is frustrating stuff, mate. I know you had a game plan when you got here this morning. The showers have wrecked it. It's all about getting the drivers comfortable in the car for me at this stage. I mean, are you going to be able to achieve this in these conditions?
Oh, look, we don't know what tomorrow's going to throw at us, and it could be like this tomorrow. So we've just got to get the guys in there and try and get a read on the car in the wet. John seems pretty happy with the car. We've just put Shane in. He's not really going to get any practice before the shootout, but it's a good opportunity to run in the full wet for him.
Mate, I've got to say, I reckon you're doing a fantastic job of running this car. Taking over, particularly Shane, the young bloke. I bet there's been a real upward trend in his performance. Well done, mate. I know you got that nice, quiet demeanour. Don't say anything. You're doing a ripper job, mate.
Thanks. See you guys.
A good team too, and a great combination that we've got here. And I mean, literally a mouth-watering session coming up for the shootout, especially when this guy is behind the wheel on a wet track in the shootout at Bathurst. Shane Van Gisbergen, that will be one lap to watch. He'll be the third man out in the shootout. And Larko talking to his co-driver there earlier, Johnny McIntyre, who wrapped up his third NZ V8 championship earlier in the year, and they've formed quite a combination.
And this car's been very speedy throughout the season, as everybody knows, and Shane sits third in the championship at the moment. He's had those 2 fantastic wins in the championship this year, especially the one in New Zealand, which had everybody erupting in the stands at Hamilton. And he's turned the corner. He's a smart young operator now. He's got the pace and he's using his brain. And as Mark Larkin was pointing out there a moment ago, with old hands like Dave Stewart just guiding him, putting together a good combination. And they've certainly smartened up the performance of the cars. Stone Brothers have had great success here over the years. And it's really tight at the top, and they've come and gone. The tide's gone in and out a bit for them, but just most recently they're certainly on their game. Interesting, Greg Murphy's gone back in the car. Those guys are the fastest in the Pepsi Max crew. Holden at the moment, 2:19. But Shane, rear brakes locked, got it pulled up, skated in there like he was on a motocross bike. He's done a lot of dirt track stuff in the old days. Here's car number 12. I was going to make the point that the times are all over the place because those that got a time punched in really early did it on a drier racetrack. So when you see our sort order of the practice times, don't read too much into it because it depended on the very moment in time that you achieved it.
Faint dry line appearing, but very faint. Michael Patrizzi's behind the wheel here of the West Track Racer, car number 12, paired with Dean Fiore. And Michael just took out the first race of the weekend in the Porsche Carrera Cup.
Yeah, Matty Dean's with me too, just out of the car. Dean, how did you find it out there?
Good, mate. We didn't have any running in there when it was partially dry. We just sort of did some out and ins, and we rolled out there in the wet, and we popped straight up to 15, which is a lot better than where we were yesterday. So pretty happy with the car in the wet.
Great to see a couple of the young guns out there in you and Michael. How are you working together? How's it going so far?
Oh, really good, mate. Michael and I are mates from when we were little tackers, you know, so we're best mates off the track as well, so it makes it so much easier when you're trying to do something like this. Michael's having a great run in the Cup car as well, which also, you know, just takes that little bit of pressure off him as he jumps into the V8. And he's done a great job at Phillip Island, and he's doing a great job now, so it's going well.
How's the car feeling?
Car feels great in the wet, not so good in the dry. I struggled a lot in qualifying yesterday, so we wanted to try something in this session, hoping it was dry, but didn't get around to it. So we're just focused on what the track's doing at the time, mate, and we're okay at the moment.
All the very best. Good stats, mate. Cheers.
Dino's had 2 starts here at Bathurst, but 2 DNFs. Let's hope this year is the year that he can find the checkered flag. So this practice session continues under wet skies. Oh, it looks treacherous, especially at the top of the mountain. As time starts ticking away on this 6th practice session, the shootout, of course, still to come, the Fujitsu racing still to come. So there's plenty heading your way this afternoon, and Shane van Gisbergen arrives like he's racing against car number 2 here through the chase. Nick Percat behind the wheel.
Matty, Carl Reindler just out of the Fair Dinkum Sheds car. And Carl, how's it feeling out there? I guess a little exciting.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the rain this morning, actually. But once the tyres are up to temperature, that should feel pretty good. I think we made some improvements.
Carl, you've been one of the great stories of the year, your improvement and the way that you've come back from earlier in the year in Perth when we were all a bit scared about that big fire on the grid.
Yeah, it was very frightening for me at the time, and I still see the footage and get quite, a bit of a shiver down my spine to think, how lucky I was to get away with it. But the recovery over the last few months has been going really well. I've been taking good care of my hands especially, and look at my hands now and you can hardly, almost, there's a bit of scarring, but you can hardly tell that anything even happened. So, with Dr. Fiona Wood on my side, it's been a pretty easy process.
It's a fantastic story, and it's great to see you back and doing so well, Carl. All the very best.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
And Neil and Matt look after their hands as well.
Now, I look up and down pit lane here, and there's only 2 cars I can see in garages, and one of them is the Bottle Falcon. So we might just dive in here and see if we can find. I can see Paul Dumbrell and Dean Cano sitting here. Boys, quite obvious the car's parked. You've run it. Have you elected to do that to avoid the risk?
No, there's probably a couple of things, really. Yeah, there's one thing we're certainly not in the shootout this afternoon, so we're not going to learn too much. We had a fair bit of running on Thursday in the wet, but with all the tyre rules, which I'm sure you've spoken about at length, the tyres we got back have done nearly over 200 kilometres, so they've barely got any tread left on them, so there's no real point in us beating around on race tyres, just in case it does rain, and we're not probably going to learn too much from now on.
OK, now, push him aside, Dean, and he's not going to listen to what you say. Co-driver, mate, I know when I've had co-drivers working with him, they always complain, never get enough laps, and I know, mate, you've got springs in your heels. You want more laps?
Never say no to more laps, but like we said, the wet tyres we've got are pretty much almost slicks, and you actually have to lift off going over mountain straight over the rise. So I'll just sit back here and relax, and we'll go in the warm-up and have a run tomorrow.
All right, boys, good luck tomorrow, eh? Now, I just want to walk around the back here and see if we can find into the Stone Brothers garage in Lucky 7 car. There he is, Daniel Gaunt. Now, Daniel, you've just got out of the car. Tell us about conditions out there, mate. Tough for a guy that comes up here not too often?
Yeah, I'm just easing into it. I mean, it's the last thing I want to be is the first guy pinballing off all the walls. So just getting comfortable with it. As a co-driver, you don't have to be up to speed till Sunday.
Yeah, so I think, for me, it's going to be really, really important that it's dry tomorrow in the warm-up, because you said the word comfortable, and for people at home to understand, sometimes it's not about the car being fast. If the driver's not comfortable, i.e. the car's balanced, nice to drive, does what you want, you're going nowhere.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Wes and Tim, they're focusing on getting the car right, and my job at the moment is just getting myself up to speed, like you say.
All right, mate, good luck, eh?
Thank you. Cheers, mate.
the topic that they're discussing earlier when Mark was talking to Paul Dumbrell about the tyres. For those that didn't catch the news earlier in the week, because it's been such a rush on the wet weather tyre stock, what happened was V8 Supercar had to pool all the tyres. We'll just have a look at this replay here of the Dean Fiore, Michael Patrizzi West Track Falcon blazing off. No big deal though, it just skates off, all pretty gentle. And some action coming into the pit lane here too. That's a bit awkward for James Moffat, it seems. That's been done a few times before. There's so little grip in that part of the racetrack. And car number 30, Warren Luff at the wheel here, just stepping off the exit curb at turn 2. And in fact, James is beached down there, so he's going to be stuck until they can retrieve him. He's only, 3.5 minutes away from the end of the session, and it's Matt Halliday at the wheel in that car at the moment. They look fantastic, the new scheme they got on the Jim Beam cars. But just finishing up that point, Matty, it's important because the tyres all went back into a pool, and they've all been allocated 4 brand new sets of wets through qualifying, which was yesterday. Then they had to be used also for the shootout for those that are in it, and then for the race. They had to be protected. We needed to make sure we had the correct number of tyres for the race. But for the used tyres, regardless of how many you had, they all went back into the pool as well, and you didn't necessarily get your own tyres back. So they've all been kind of socialised, if you like, and sent back out. So that's what Paul was making reference to when he talked about, look, we've got tyres with next to no tread depth on them. There's just not a lot of point running around out there with zero grip.
Well, you can see it. I mean, with 2.5 minutes left in this session, which has been going now for more than 45 minutes, it is still as slippery as you could imagine out there. So Greg Murphy and Alan Simonson doing a driver change. They're top of the timesheets. Simonson set the fastest time of this session, which is at 2:19.6. So that gives you a good indication. 12 seconds off the qualifying times yesterday.
Matty lurking around the garages. I'm in FPR now. Look at a couple of old blokes hiding up the back corner here. Richo, Frosty, you've just had a run in the car?
No.
Haven't been in, mate?
No.
Frosty, I look at your time, probably not where you want to be, but I guess this session very much is about sorting the car out, making it okay in the wet.
Well, we stripped our wets, so all we've got is raced wets, and you don't want to wreck them in this session, so I'm happy. I'm turning up today to do 1 lap. That's it. That's my quota for the day, so don't want to strain yourself too hard today.
You must be pretty happy if you've got this bloke with you if it is wet, because if you have a look at his toes, they're joined, they're fairly webbed. Comes from the old man, it's genetic.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Our cars have been great in the wet all weekend, so we haven't really changed a great deal, and you know, if we put it some tyres, I'm not expecting it to be any different. So really pretty comfortable in the car. No need to go and wear it out. Just concentrate on what Frosty's got to do.
Frosty, got to ask you, mate, the chips haven't fallen your way here typically over the years gone past. What's changed this year? What have you brought this year you think that's going to get the trophy?
Brought my good mate, but besides him, we've got adjustability in the car, and that's that hasn't been there the previous years. So by adjustability, it allows you to run a stiffer or a softer rear bar and get actually a change out of it. So 120 litres to empty makes a massive difference. And in the past, we've been pegged on the rear bar, pegged on the front bar, and you've got that for 161 laps. So I think adjustability is going to help us this weekend, but I'll tell you tomorrow night, we need that scope, and I think we've got it this weekend.
All right, good luck tomorrow, boys.
Thank you.
Hot out of the Pepsi Max car, Greg Murphy just debriefing here at the moment, fastest in this practice session, and he's had a great weekend so far. Murph, everything's going beautifully so far for you?
Yeah, mate, it is. It's going pretty smoothly. I mean, I'm sure we're not the only ones, but the car was good then in the wet, really predictable and not scary, and on an old set of wets as well. So it's nice, and the car was all right yesterday. There's a few tints here and there, probably a couple of tints to find, but no. Can't be too upset about the way the plan's going so far.
And Alan's doing the right thing too, performing well for you as teammate.
He's Phillip Island was a bit stressed, and he hadn't had a lot of time in the car, which probably highlights the importance of what teams are doing with their co-drivers. Making sure they got a lot of miles before they get to the enduros, and we probably were a bit off ball there, not caught off guard. We were hoping it wasn't going to affect us, but it probably did at Phillip Island, whereas here he's comfortable and really enjoying driving the car. So, he's a happy co-driver.
Yeah, good news. It's a great combination, Greg Murphy and Bathurst. All the best, mate.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks.
I like the new DJ look that Murph's got going as well, with his headphones wrapped around the neck. So the session comes to a close now. It didn't deliver anything fancy in terms of times, but the Pepsi Max crew were certainly comfortable in those conditions, more comfortable than anybody else. Greg Murphy and Alan Simonson, 2 minutes, 19.6486 seconds. It's not going to set any records, that one, but they will take every lap they can before the race starts tomorrow morning. So that's how they rolled on through. Nothing really to report in terms of drama or damage, which is exactly how they wanted it, and the tyre situation continues to be watched very, very carefully. So that's it for the 6th practice session. That means we've got the one-lap dash to come. The Shootout is still ahead on 7 this afternoon. The season of endurance rolling on.
This weekend, while all eyes are on Mount Panorama, 1,000 kilometres north, the Gold Coast is getting ready for something special. In 2 weeks, the Armour Gold Coast 600 will explode onto the streets of Surfers Paradise in a fitting finale to this year's season of endurance.
Cars everywhere. This will be carnage. Whack! Have you ever seen anything like this?
2 massive concerts, 28 international drivers, the toughest street circuit in the world, and the backdrop, well, there's simply none better. The Armour Gold Coast 600 is a motorsport experience not to be missed. And for the first time ever, it'll be broadcast in Australia in spectacular high definition. For all your ticket, event and broadcast information, visit v8supercars.com.au.
Well, the weather continues to be the main player here at Mount Panorama. The good news out of that practice session, everybody came through unscathed. The bad news is not many flying laps were done. One of those sessions, you've got to take whatever Bathurst delivers. So let's get the feel of pit lane. We'll start at Team DOC. Mark Larkins with Jason Bright.
Brighty qualified 18th there yesterday. Personally, I reckon you're better than that.
What say? Are you impressed or what?
Something not quite right.
Yeah, we did miss the ball a little bit there, and it wasn't a good lap at the end of the session, which was when you needed to do it. So we had a little bit, we were a little bit down on top speed yesterday. I think we found why, and the car was pretty quick then in the wet. So I'm confident that the car's good. It felt good in qualifying, it felt like it was doing all the right things. We just couldn't punch out of time, and qualifying on hard tyres hasn't been our forte this year. So I think we were probably bottom of the top 10 at best, but we're a little bit off, and that puts us 18.
More importantly, mate, looking forward now, what do I think is going to happen here? I can't remember a time where there's been such a little amount of dry running. Co-drivers haven't had a lot of time. So we're going to blaze into tomorrow's race with a little bit of a warm-up, but it's going to be very, very hard to know. Circuits change since last year, tyres change, everything changes, and we're not going to know what it's like 30, 25 laps into a stint, sorry.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I haven't been coming in here anywhere near as many years as you, but I can't remember a year where, we've had such little amount of dry running. And, it will be an interesting race. There'll be plenty of greens rolled out during the race, and, who knows what that's going to do for tyre life and, for good or bad.
Well, I reckon that's going to make it fascinating. So thanks, buddy.
Should be a good day.
There is great activity here in the Jack Daniels garage. You can just feel the intensity. Rick Kelly is here. Rick, I happened to walk past the garage last night after qualifying, and I could sense as I went past that you were not happy with yesterday's result.
Happy camper, wasn't I? No, I was very disappointed and probably a little bit too angry, to be honest with you. But you always come to Bathurst with very good intentions to do a great job and to be up the front, and it's a little bit frustrating. Our car's a lot different to what it was last year, and it just wasn't quite right for the dry running yesterday because we didn't have much tuning pre-qualifying to get it right. And we had, again, great hopes of today going out in a dry session and just fine-tuning it for the race, and it was wet again. So we've still got a little bit of an unknown package in car 15 at the moment. So hopefully the warm-up tomorrow morning's dry and we can learn from the great job KR did yesterday in qualifying.
You just get the feeling, Rick, as I came in here, that just the intensity amongst the guys, everyone's on their toes, everyone's working particularly hard at the moment. It is grand final day.
Yeah, it is pretty intense in here at the moment. Everyone's just building towards a great Bathurst result, and when it's not too good, everyone's pretty disappointed and really trying to give their best to to get the team turned around. We're already a little bit behind the 8 ball, so we've really got to do a fantastic job to turn that around and get us back up the front, and everyone at the moment's pretty focused on that, and fingers crossed we can turn the Bathurst weekend around still.
All the best, Rick.
Thank you. Cheers.
It's a busy time down there for Kelly Racing, and it's only the third time that Rick Kelly won't be part of a top 10 list. So this is the Shootout lineup for you. Garth Tander will be last out. Mark Winterbottom second last out. He's had 2 pole positions here. Look out for Jamie Whincup. Kelly Racing is represented through both David Reynolds and Greg Murphy. Craig Lowndes qualified 6th. James Courtney 7th. Shane Van Gisbergen in the wet will be something to watch. He'll be the 3rd man out. Steve Owen will be 2nd man out, and first out in the top 10 shootout will be Will Davison after he got the call up when car 33 got penalised and dropped down the list. So the top 10 still to be decided. The back end of the field, though, is locked in. This is car 3 of Tony D'Alberto and Dale Wood. They'll be starting from 23rd. And now Tommy Williams is down at Wilson Security Racing.
Dale Wood, you're driving with Tony D'Alberto this weekend. Tony had chicken pox at Phillip Island. How's he feeling?
Yeah, that's right. He's pretty good now. He's probably 95%. You know, it knocks you about for a fair while. But we got back in the gym, a week or so after Phillip Island, and he was feeling pretty good. But he was looking pretty ordinary and spotty there for a while.
Yeah, speaking of spots and red spots, a few of the lads have said you're in a bit of denial about being a ranger.
Or a bluey or whatever you want to say. It gets so much red. I think it's just got a touch of maybe ginger to it, but it's more a strawberry blonde, I think. And the downstairs region now isn't too sort of bright red, so it's we're sitting okay, I think.
Okay, nice one, Dale. Thanks very much for that. Hey, listen, you recently got engaged. Any thoughts on music for the wedding?
Oh, look, a little bit of a fan of the boob, actually, so might have a bit of Michael Bublé, a little bit of swing action going on, something like that. I sort of fancy myself as a bit of a two-stepper, so...
Okay, Michael Bublé, nice one. Hey, listen, also the guys are into you about a bit of height, and one of them said to me, look, if he doesn't do too well this weekend, he might be all right for a start at Flemington for the spring racing.
Anything's possible, you know. I never sort of saw myself as a jockey. I'm quite a big guy. Probably make you look a little bit smaller than what you actually are. So, no, all right, I'll take that. I am out on the shorter side, maybe a little bit closer to the ground than the common person.
Good luck this weekend, Dale.
Thanks very much.
Reality TV is a huge part of television programming these days. X Factor, Australia's Got Talent, Beauty and the Geek, Dancing with the Stars, they're all great shows, and it's easy to see why.
You just brought the house down. That was brilliant.
Awesome. Everybody loves it.
2011 champion!
Well, now reality TV takes it to a whole new level with Shannon's Supercar Showdown, hosted by Grant Denyer and V8 Supercar stars Todd and Rick Kelly as judges. The show takes 10 contestants, all young racing car drivers from all around Australia and the world, and gets them competing in a number of elimination challenges. And the winner gets the opportunity to drive alongside Grant and the ultimate V8 supercar race, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. And the winner is with us right now, Cameron Waters. Grant, this guy's won it. This must be the icing on the cake for you guys this weekend.
Oh, it's amazing. It's a dream come true to be racing here.
Now, you're only 17. You don't even have your P's yet.
No, I don't even have them now. Still got my L's. So I'll sit for my P's on the Wednesday after Bathurst.
Now, matey, how's he shaping up for the weekend?
It's pretty incredible when you think about it, mate. Doesn't have a road license, never driven a V8 supercar, never driven around the mountain, and he gets to drive in the Bathurst 1000. So what the cool part for us is, he doesn't know any of the names of the great corners, the cutting and the dipper and the elbow. But what he's not short on is bucket loads of talent. This kid can steer. He's a great find.
So you're sitting him down and teaching him everything you know?
Basically had to teach him to tie his shoelaces. He's that young. He said before, "Who's Brock?" which is a classic line.
Oh God!
But I've never seen someone get in a V8 supercar so incredibly calm, think so deeply about what they're doing, and just come up the speed so fast with absolutely no experience. So he really is an absolutely gifted kid.
And Cameron, during the show and during the competition, how tough was it to get to where you are now?
It was pretty tough. There was some pretty good other people in the competition. Andrew Jordan, he races British touring cars, so it was pretty hard. I just had to try to do my best, don't make any mistakes, and I managed to win it.
All right, fellas, well, good luck this weekend. We'll all be watching.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
You're watching the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 live here on 7. We have been looking at the skies all weekend, all day, for a number of reasons, not only the weather, but to check out the aerial work of this man. This is Australia's Matt Hall. He's been putting on an aerobatic display over the last couple of days and will continue to do so. And through the wonders of technology, although I might wait until he's finished some of these manoeuvres, we're going to try and have a chat to Matt. That's an extra 300L two-seater plane. It's the most powerful and manoeuvrable two-seat aerobatic aircraft in the country. Matt Hall, Matt White here from Channel 7. Just checking that you've got me. You look as though you're having more fun than the drivers this weekend.
Hi, Matt. It's amazing.
300 horsepower, this thing. Pulls up to 10 Gs depending on the weight. Top speed flat and level, 350 kilometres per hour. Downhill, top speed, 400 clicks per hour. And the good news is that Matt's got relatively clear skies to do this in. Hey, Matt White again. Hey, you took our Tommy Williams up for a ride yesterday. How'd he go?
Yeah, by the time we were done, he was ready to land, that's for sure. You'll get to see that footage tomorrow, I believe.
All right, well, you keep doing your work. We're going to roll some vision here of Tom in action. So that's obviously Tommy in the front.
Get the back out of the way.
And he didn't enjoy it, folks. I've got to tell you about that. The funny thing about that was that Matt thought that Tom was joking and continued to barrel roll. Tom was not joking. We will have the full story of Tom's activities up in the skies for you tomorrow during the broadcast. Matt Hall, thanks for your time this afternoon. Continue that fantastic work high above the skies.
Thanks, Matt. I'm having a lot of fun, and hope everyone enjoys the show and in particular the race, what they're here for.
You're a good man. Now listen, the calendar has been announced for 2012, the V8 Supercars. The first time that 16 events will be held, one non-championship event at the Australian Grand Prix. We start at the Clipsal 500 the first weekend of March. Phillip Island has been moved to May, and there is a good reason for that as we flip the page, because the big news is the 500 returns to Sandown, its spiritual home, September 14 through to 16. It will be the 50th event here at Bathurst in 2012. And Abu Dhabi, that event will be a full championship round at the Formula One Grand Prix, November 2nd through to 4th. We've got to fill in one spot, which will be event 15. And, of course, we'll wrap it up at the Sydney Telstra 500 at Homebush, November 30 through to December the 2nd. More V8 racing than ever before. Barrett's?
Matty, not very often the mountain gives you a second chance, but Will Davison got one in the top 10 shootout today. Will, you've got to make the most of this one.
Yeah, it's just great to be in the shootout. This is the shootout all drivers want to be a part of. So, I never had any doubt. It was always under control. But, no, I got bumped to 11th at the very finish there, and luckily we got moved back in. So, it's a good opportunity now to have a dip. I won't leave much on the table. Looks like the track's going to be dry, but I was hoping it might actually rain for about the second bloke out, and I might go from 11th to pole. That'd be all right.
All the best, Will. Get out there and go for it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Hey, James, I can sort of feel it in my bones. This is going to be a pivotal moment for you. We said the car looks fast, and it does. Have a look at that. It does look fast.
She's a bullet.
She's a bullet. Mate, are you going to attack this and try and grab yourself a pole position, or are you really happy to sort of say, let's get in the 10 and consolidate?
Part of me saying that we're in the 10, let's just give it a nice clean lap, see what happens. The other part saying is Bathurst.
All right, as long as it's your heart saying Bathurst, mate, and it's your head saying keep it in the top 10 and no mistakes.
Yeah, no, we'll be good. We'll just go out there and rag on for the first half of the lap, see how it's going. If it's feeling pretty good, probably press on pretty hard through the last sector and see how we come out. But look, it's Bathurst like. We only get to do this lap once a year, so I'll hang them off the mirror and we'll see how we go.
Great to see you up there, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, James Courtney, the 2010 Series champ, heading out for his 4th shootout here at Bathurst. And he will be the 4th man out on the list. It's quite an interesting lineup. Steve Owen will be making his first ever Bathurst shootout appearance. And there are 4 drivers in the top 10 field who have tasted pole here at the mountain before. They are Craig Lowndes, Greg Murphy, Mark Winterbottom and Garth Tander, who'll be the last man out. Matt Hall continuing to do some circle work high up above as we get ready for the shootout. More from Larko. What do you got?
Well, I got Greg Spud Murphy down here with me. We had a chat earlier on, mate. Your form here is fantastic. I've been talking to your engineers, Barry Ryan, about your approach to this weekend. You've actually built up a lot to this very, very moment. You've almost disregarded the championship.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I mean, the championship's damn important. There's no doubt about it. It's not like we're fighting for a championship this year again. So, yeah, this is the race. Obviously, everyone wants to win, and the trophy's pretty special, So I wouldn't mind adding to the couple that we've got already.
And remember that tremendous lap, mate, 2:06.9, whatever.
I actually remember yours.
Well, mate, I was going to say, but is there three things that you remember from that lap, mate, that you can use right here, right now?
You don't miss a gear out of the dipper. That's a good one, but which should be harder with a sequential gearbox now. But no, listen, it's one of those things, mate. You remember when you bloody broke into the nines for the first time. It just happens. It's one of those days that it just happens and everything goes right. And I don't know if that's going to be one of these days, but we're pretty comfortable.
Well, I don't know about it, folks. I just sense the demeanour around you, mate. It just feels good. And good luck. No, mate, you look good. You look fit. Car's fast. Good luck.
You.
Hey, Larko, speaking of a guy who's got an aura about him, Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane, I know a lot of people excited about you in this shootout and what potential you have here today.
Oh, why's that?
Just because you can get out there and let it loose.
Oh, no, if the grip's there and the car feels all right, I'll give it a go. But looked quite dry in that last race. The car's going round, so I'll see how we feel, and I'll give it a go if it feels all right.
Strategy for this? Have you thought much about how you'll attack it?
Obviously, I'll be one of the first cars out, so I won't have much of a, the benchmark will be there, but I'll be setting it for everyone else if I'm on it. So, yeah, as I said, I'll just do what feels comfortable and, give it a go if it feels good.
Always exciting when you're out there in a shootout. Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cannot wait to see Shane Van Gisbergen and the rest of the field, in fact, take on this one-lap dash. So that is the top 10 shootout list for you. Headed by Garth Tander, two-time pole sitter. Mark Winterbottom's done pole here before. David Reynolds will certainly be one to watch. We've already mentioned the Gears and Steve Owen, and Will Davison will be the first man out in the shootout of 2011. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will hit the mountain for one lap.
It's a very, very nervous time, those few minutes leading into the shootout when you're sitting in the car, strapping your belts on, your heart's racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It's time to turn up the heat.
When you make the shootout, there's one car on that track and you can't hide.
From the moment you start the lap to the moment you finish, you don't take a breath, and it's just one wild ride that doesn't compare with anywhere I've ever been.
This shootout is a big deal.
To get that one lap right is very hard to do.
Look at Lowndes' maximum attack. There's nothing left.
Down Conrod Straight. Watch the splits. Everyone that's around, team members, co-drivers, everyone's there riding with you.
Internally inside the drivers, it's so important to get your car around that track as fast as anyone else.
Mate, good effort. P2 for now, P2.
The shootout lap at Bathurst is very, very special. It's the only time you're at one in the car, no one's annoying you, no radio chat, fresh set of tyres, out there on your own, no worries about traffic, and drive the car as fast as you can. And
it's pretty nice and neat and tidy, very committed, good job.
The whole of Australia is watching. It's our biggest race. You go past the big screen, you can see yourself on the big screen, the helicopter's running beside you. It's a pretty insane feeling, and definitely the best lap of the year is the shootout lap at Bathurst.
Quite simply, the most incredible lap you're ever going to see. Welcome back. Well, we've been ducking and weaving the weather all day, and it's opened up for us right on cue, just in time for the top 10 shootout. But the mountain still looks menacing. It always does. Looking up the top here at Skyline. This is a wonderful moment in Australian motorsport, I reckon, Crompo, when 10 guys will have the track all to themselves, one after the other. The crowds line the circuit. Everybody's been waiting for this moment at this time. One man versus one mountain. You get one shot at it.
And really is a precious situation, Matt. And you heard Garth Tander say as we went to the break, you're out there, you're on your own, no one talking to you, it's you and your car, you get to do your thing. Got to get it right. There's nowhere to hide. So far, we look as though we might be dealing with dry conditions. Wind's gone southwesterly. When they last ran in the dry, it was northwesterly. It means a tailwind now down Conrod Straight.
There's no question that Will Davison will be lining up thinking, how lucky am I? He just missed out on the top 10 in qualifying. He was bumped up the list after car 33 was ejected out of the list for not going to the weight scales at the end of the qualifying session yesterday. Mount Panorama always looks a treat, and when you're waiting for the top 10 shootout, there's just another sparkle about it as Will Davison, the Trading Post Falcon, heads out for the first man out in this one-lap dash. The fight for pole position for the 2011 Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000.
The trick with this is to get the car just right in terms of its tyre pressures and all the important temperatures in and around the car, brake temperatures, tyre temperature, the sidewall of the car, the tyre needs to be flexed, and everything just needs to be right at the right moment. It's a little bit of a black art, this one, because as we look at the cars rolling out in this shootout, of course, we're starting with Will Davison, finishing with Garth Tander. The trick is to bring those cold tyre starting pressures up sufficiently so that they're just right when you get going on this lap. You don't want them to overinflate, you don't want them to be underinflated. They've all had a lot of experience in doing this, various other racetracks around the country. This man's had 2 pole positions in 2011 in our championship, but of course they've had very little dry running here so far this weekend.
So it's all about 6.213 kilometres. And Will's really starting to put his foot down now on this out lap. So we break it down into a whole heap of turns, but you know them by name. Start at Hill Corner, go up Mountain Straight, through Griffins, through the cutting, Reed Park, Sulman Park, McPhillamy, then Skyline, then you begin the downward spiral, the S's, the Dipper, Forest Elbow, onto Conrod Straight, up to 300 kilometres through the chase, down to Murray's Corner. That's your lap done.
With an average lap speed of around about 175 kilometres an hour. Qualifying, Garth Tander was the fastest man. That's why he'll run last in this shootout now, 2:7.6. Bit slower than this time last year. As I said, headwind for them for the early practice running, and also just very little track time. So it means they haven't been able to get the cars trimmed perhaps quite as they'd like. But what really impressed me yesterday was just how intense it was in the top 10. Less than half a second covering those that made it in. And there were a couple of sad stories that those that just missed out by a whisker. And this guy's had a great run here. Of course, he did a beautiful job in the race last year, but right up to the last phase of the race, where unfortunately it all came unglued at the top of the mountain up near Reed Park. He's had a couple of shootout appearances before. 7 starts, a win, a couple of podiums, 4 finishes from 7 starts, and now he heads into his 3rd shootout, all-important lap. Trading Post Racing, Will Davison.
So this is it. The one-lap dash begins. The first man out in the shootout for 2011, Will Davison, takes aim at Mount Panorama. Up to turn 1. He knows what it's like to win here at the mountain. That was back in his Holden Racing Team days and a couple of years ago. Now he's got the mountain to himself, and it's all about Will versus the clock up Mountain Straight.
In 5th gear, peak speed around 260 kilometres an hour beneath the Petters sign in this steep uphill braking area into turn 2. Trick here is to tuck the car into that gutter and then let it run wide over this curve, which he does. Everybody's been very respectful of those in the recent past because they've been wet. They're freshly painted to present the racetrack in the beautiful manner that it's been presented, but the problem is they're very slippery and they leach a bit of water. Very short shift there up to 3rd, then 4th gear. That's 4th. Just bottoms out a little through Reed Park and across the metal grate. Nice job so far. A little bit of sliding as he came under the tree.
52.64 was the first split. Now, down the mountain he goes.
And by way of comparison, that's a second slower than the same split this time last year for Lowndes.
Through the S's, onto the Dipper. Forest Elbow coming up. Out to the wall, and Will fires it down Conrod.
Now he gets a chance to just think about precision upshifting, grabbing those shift lights at just the right time, and where does he want to commit to under brakes. He's already got a solid feel for how much grip he's got today. Commits to the throttle, stays with it. That was on the limiter. 7,500 revs with a 315 diff is 303 kilometres an hour. That tailwind helping the cause. Down to the last corner now for Will Davison.
Well, the biggest key in a one-lap dash is to not make any mistakes, and Will Davison has done that. 2:08.8 is the first time laid down. Ford Performance Racing.
Mate, good job there.
Well, they're not doing handstands in the garage.
They had all filters out.
But they're happy. They're happy enough. And a 2:08.88, Will Davison. Are you happy with that?
Front grip felt a bit better, but yeah, struggled with the rear.
He's just talking to the team there at the moment, giving them a bit of a read. Will, it's Neil. Can you hear me at the moment?
Hey, Cromley, I got you loud and clear, mate.
Hey, buddy, give us a bit of a read. What was the track like? Did it grip up? What was your car like?
It was a bit more oversteery than what I had yesterday. So, you know, we haven't had much dry running. So, you know, it was just, I was just having a crack. I didn't really know what to expect. So it was a tricky lap. I'm not overly happy with it, but, you know, it's just great to be in the shootout. It's always a fun lap.
Absolutely. It looked like a pretty good job from where we were sitting, and you had it singing on the limiter down the straight. It was flying through the chase.
Yeah, we've changed engines overnight, and I hadn't got close to the limiter yesterday, so that put a bit of a smile on my face when we're on the hard cut there.
Good job. Talk to them.
Thanks, guys.
It was fun to watch. A good one first up too. And these drivers will be loving the fact that the circuit is dry.
Now, they've had a weird problem with this car in the last couple of days. They've been having dramas with the Steve Owen VIP Pet Foods entry with the clutch. Changed it several times. The pedal's been sticking, and the clutch on occasion's also been slipping. So I spoke to Steve before. He's really happy with the car. But that's just been a nagging problem for them that they've hopefully overcome. He's got a great history and heritage at this racetrack. He always stands up in the saddle here.
He was on the podium with Jamie Whincup last year in that famous 1-2 finish for Team Vodafone. Now he's the lead driver at VIP Pet Foods, and he lets loose on his flying lap. So 2:08.8 is the overall time set by Will Davison. First marker for Steve Owen will be 52.6 at the first sector.
Car sat up and dropped over the rear side of the exit curve at turn 1 then, so you saw a little bit of the oversteer on the exit. We'll get an indication of how this maps relative to Will when he gets up past the exit of the cutting at the first timing intermediate. Cleanly into 2. A little bit of push in the middle of the corner there. Seriously committed to a wide approach on the run into the cutting, and it's very important through that double apex left-hander to take it as one corner, not as two pieces. Has to think about recommitting to the throttle in third gear. Now grabs fourth gear for the run down towards the metal grate. Very wide through there. Not as much evidence of that car bottoming. Very close to the right-hand wall at McPhillamy.
He's only 2/100ths of a second off Will's time to the first sector, but he's ultra committed across the top of the mountain. First time in a shootout at Bathurst, but plenty of experience around this track. 12 Bathurst starts for this 36-year-old. Out of the elbow, the second sector time will register half a second adrift.
Very hard into the throttle, got to 100% quickly in second gear. The car just oversteered a little on the exit. Now it's again a chance to just relax the grip, have a think. How far can he stick this thing down here at 300 kilometres an hour? Let's listen. Again on the limiter, so the tailwind helping the cause down there at the moment. Pulls it up, hits the apex. Short shifts in that right-hander so that he doesn't excite the rear of the car too much.
And if he ends up in this session any higher than 7th position, it will be the best qualifier around here for Paul Morris Motorsport, his team boss, 2:09.5. So drifted away a little bit in the last 2 sectors for Stevie Owen.
Just a banker lap, that's all we need. We obviously made a bit of a dog's breakfast of it there, but that's all right. So you brought that bar up. Good job, mate.
A banker lap, 2:09.5. So a good effort to be inside the top 10. Steve Owen's on the line. Are you happy with that, Steve? A banker?
No, not really, to be honest. The car's a long way out to where it was yesterday, but as you said, we're in the top 10. We've got a lot of tyres for tomorrow, so that's not such a bad thing.
Hey, Steve, it's Neil. What was the deal with the clutch? Is it all okay then?
Yeah, it is. We've had 2 clutch failures in the last 2 practice sessions, so we think we're on top of it now. We've replaced everything, so fingers crossed we'll be right for tomorrow.
Best of luck, Steve.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Steve Owen paired up with his team boss, Paul Morris, for tomorrow's great race. He'll be starting inside the top 10, and here's something we've been waiting to see. Shane van Gisbergen, 4 Bathurst starts, breakthrough wins this year in the V8 Supercar Championship, and really that's turned his whole game around. He was top 10 in last year's championship fight, but this has been the year where he's arrived. Victories in New Zealand
and in Darwin. 3rd in the championship at the moment. His best ever performance in the shootout here has been 6th a couple of years ago. These guys have got their act together down at Stone Brothers at the moment. The SP Tools car's been the pick of the bunch in the 3-car crew this year. And now he sets off for his run up Mountain Straight. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th gear right at the crest of the hill. And the car actually momentarily just comes off the deck here. And then it's 260 kilometres an hour. The big uphill brake, big load in the car. It's amazing how far you can get the car in here. Got it stuck on lines, a little bit of oversteer in the mid-corner. And this is the part of the circuit that the drivers relish. Blind approach to the cutting. 2nd gear, turns it in early. It's just bottoming out. You can hear the scuffing in the background.
22 years of age, the flying Kiwi, approaching the first sector time. Will Davison, 52.6, just under 5/100ths of a second. He gets a big roar across the top of the mountain.
This car's lower at the front than the other 2 cars that we've seen. We've seen more scuffing on the right-hand side, keeping the ride height low, trying to maximise the aero on the car. Now the run to the dipper. It's 215 to 20 kilometres an hour on the run to the dipper, and by the time you get to here, you're doing 85 k's. That's how much speed they wipe out. Out the other side, 2nd, then 3rd. Down to Forest Elbow. This is one of the 2 slowest corners on the track. Hear the scuffing again in the background.
0.1 now. So across that top sector, it's fallen away a little bit. Can he make it up? Van Gisbergen promised to leave nothing behind. Through the chase, extraordinary speed,
late on
incredible car control. The SP Tools entry goes to the completion of this lap.
What the chopper showed us then was how much of that apron the drivers use in the approach to the chase. They get right across the white line. What's he got?
He's got a 209.3.
What we're seeing after 3 cars running here is there's just no pace in the track at the moment, and they just don't quite have the cars the way they want.
Neil, exciting time in this sport. We know coming up here to Bathurst, but great to see the stars of world sport here as well. And 2 of our greatest ever on 2 wheels, Casey Stoner and Chad Reed, just enjoying the action in the pits. Casey, nice to come in someone else's pits and just relax and enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's not often I get to come to any sort of racetrack and watch. And, you know, this is one I've been wanting to come to for a long time. And, you know, today's a little bit more relaxed, so it's nice to be able to get around and, you know, see what's going on. But I'm sure it's crunch time tomorrow, and, you know, it's nice to be here.
Busy time for you too, Phillip Island coming up?
Yeah, Phillip Island's coming up, and, you know, the stress will start building early next week. But, you know, for now I can enjoy what's going on today. But, yeah, we've got a good race meeting coming up. You know, we've had success there in the past, of course, but we'll have to see what we can do there this year.
And, Chad, for you, a little bit of a break at this time of the year?
Yeah, it's actually downtime for me, so it's awesome. I've had a full year since January, so it's time for me to be a fan, you know, enjoy this weekend and Casey next weekend. So I actually went to both races for Casey in the US, so I think he won both, so good luck. Maybe I should go next week.
You should take him to every one.
Yeah, it'd be nice. If he's my lucky charm, then, yeah, he'd definitely be coming.
Hey, boys, great to see you here. Enjoy the racing today and good luck. Cheers.
All righty, James Courtney's out now. Been on the podium here 3 times. 2nd once and 3rd twice. He may be the defending series champion, but he knows that title chase is gone, so he's put all his eggs in this endurance basket. How will he attack this?
And he has not had a pole position this year, the year where he defends the championship. He carries the number 1 on the car. It's been a tough deal so far. We jump on board and have a look at that front left, working pretty hard down there. His best Bathurst qualifying performance is 3rd several years ago. He was pretty pleased pleased to get this car into the top 10, and both the Tyler Holden Racing Team cars are certainly looking stronger this weekend. They looked okay too at the LNH 500 at Phillip Island.
How'd you like to be a front left about now?
Well, it'll get worse when you start to get close to this concrete. Up near the cutting. This is where it'll be up shaving against the wall. Right there. And there'll be a bit more of that to come. So this is where there's now big load in the car, big turning forces in the car here as you climb up the hill. Fourth gear, right up against the wall. You just kiss the curb. Down through the hollow when the car drops into the grate, pick the throttle back up once again. It'll dance onto two wheels, slide off the top of the exit curb, turn in early for McPhillamy, pick the throttle up hard, and getting back to 225 kilometres an hour for James Courtney. And then you just literally hang it off the nose all the way down into the dipper.
They've all been matching Will Davison's first sector time. This has been the critical part for the laps gone. This middle sector across the top of the mountain, down through the dipper and at Forest Elbow.
Here comes the second split.
Again, it's fallen away at the top.
It's a good first sector, but the second sector lost a lot of time relative to Will. Some of this will be the way the tyres are phasing in as well, depending on what their cold start pressures were. So let's see what Courtney can deliver, what the ride of this car's like across the bumps. Let's listen. Sequential box, must go back through all of them. Second briefly and then into third. Now he might rescue it in the final sector. He'd probably be better than Shane Van Gisbergen's time based on the early numbers, but we're about to find out. He was on the limiter in fourth on the run to the final corner. Second.
So
good job. Second at the moment.
That's right, Walkinshaw watching on with James's teammate for this weekend, Cam McConville. Second on the list. JC, Matty White here. Give us your take on that one.
Yeah, mate, it was pretty sketchy in the rear on the first part of the lap. It's locking the rears quite easily, so wasn't the most fun or the best luck we've had this weekend. 1,000 Ks to go, so we'll see how we end up tomorrow, mate.
Hey, JC, it's Neil. Just looking at the splits here, it looked like you lost most of the time in the mid-sector, and it was obviously a bit awkward through the dipper and that range of the racetrack.
Yeah, that's right, Cromley. It's just as I come over into Skyline, it's a bit sketchy in the rear on the brake, so it's didn't want to end it in the wall.
Yeah, good call. Well done, mate. P2 at the moment. Talk later.
Cheers, pal.
Well, there you go. You got to beat 208.8 to knock Will Davison off his perch. After the break, Craig Lowndes has the mountain to himself. Well, look out, Mount Panorama. Here comes your man, Craig Lowndes. The man who has dominated this circuit over the last 5 years and then some. 5-time winner, 2-time pole sitter, 3-time series champion. It's hard to say that there's been drivers who have actually conquered the mountain aside from Peter Brock, but this guy is certainly at one when he's on the mountain.
Hey, Matty, Danny with Scafie. Hi, buddy. Hey, thoughts at this point in time, mate? To me, the interesting part of this whole development that's happening here is no one's had quality running time, mate. And then the read on the circuit, listening to a couple of drivers then, unexpected what they came across up on the top of the mountain. Hard gig, mate.
Oh, it certainly is. And the grip level's lower than we think, Larko. I mean, you wouldn't think at this point an 8.8 would be fast enough to be where it is. So, and you think last year, you know, we were thinking whether we'd do a 6.8. So, you know, the reality is that it's probably at least a second, maybe more. Probably now, when you get to the business end of this top 10, you're going to see maybe a late 7 that might be the time to beat.
So just looking towards tomorrow, man, I guess the big advantage is this team is very good at rolling the car out of the truck and in pretty good shape, and you're going to need that.
No doubt. Well, to get it in the window, and you're going to have to make pretty clever choices about how you set the car from the start, because if you make it into a wet car and it's dry, then it obviously isn't good enough, and the opposite way around.
Well, I'll have a little look around, see if I can see anyone clever around here, mate. I'll just go and have a little trounce around.
Give him a break, Luck. You agree with that, Crompo? Like 207 or...
yeah, I think Mark's assessment's going to be about right. Just looking at last year's numbers, pole Mark Winterbottom 7.5. This man on the front row missed out by less than a tenth of a second. And the numbers that we're seeing at this point, well, the best we've got is an 8.8 from Will Davison. Might be even a struggle to get to the high 7s. It'll depend a little on sunlight on the road. It's going to depend a little bit about who's got what tyres and what their cold starting pressures are and what they've been able to play with and gamble with in the lead-up, how many dry laps they've had. Craig hasn't been totally happy with this car. They feel that it's okay as a race car, but its one-lap performance has been a little average. It's been very nervous in the rear, so they've been trying to calm that down a little. About to see whether or not it can deliver 2 minutes and 7 seconds something lap where it behaves itself.
You think of the guys still to come: Greg Murphy, Davey Reynolds, Jamie Whincup.
Now he's arrived in the final corner then with it skating in on the rear brake, very, very hot. So that may have even had an effect in terms of his corner exit speed off the last corner. Again, he's got it standing on its nose there. Late braking's what it's all about in terms of making these cars generate a lap time, and this guy's a master at it.
For a whole number of reasons, heading up to this point of this event, there is yet to be a standout moment. Is this it? Up over the rise, Mountain Straight.
Brought all the shift lights on in 5th gear on the run up to turn 2, so he's got it in there very, very deep 3rd gear. Car looks very nicely planted to the road through 2. This is where his teammate went wide on day 1 in practice. Jamie Whincup had just rubbed the wall. Boys do here as they grab... Oh, Lowndes. Big oversteer as he made the shift from 2nd to 3rd. Now he's pulled nearly 2/10 out of Will Davison's lap to the first timing split at turn 7.
So he's really the first man to break away from Davison at Sector 1. Up here, he absolutely loves it.
But he stayed off the curb, importantly there, Matt. It's very slippery. The grass is ordinary and wet to the right of that.
Dances through the S's.
Didn't turn well through the dipper. He just had to sit it there and wait until he could pick the throttle up. The second split, I reckon, that may not have served him terribly well.
Well, nobody's really nailed it in the middle, and again, it continues that way. So he's gone the other way, 2/10 of a second outside of Will Davison.
It pushed pretty hard through the dipper there. Now, this is going to potentially put him up in the top 3, but I don't know whether he can recover that much time in this final sector. It'll be the last of the big late breakers here. Lights on very, very late. Look at the brake rotor glowing up around 800 degrees C. Now, this could at this stage get him up on the front row. It'll be very close to the time achieved by James Courtney. Right on the braking limit into the final corner for Craig Lowndes.
Brings it around, and what does he stop the clock at? 2:09. So he goes into second. Davison's time still stands.
9.2 P2. Just didn't wait to see what everyone else does. Bit of a struggle out there. It's a long race tomorrow.
Oh, Will's got a grin from ear to ear here. He wouldn't have thought, when he looked down and saw the time at the end of his lap, he wouldn't have thought it was enough, but it's proving to be the case. So on the line, I understand Craig Lowndes can hear us. Neil Crompton, you got me there, buddy?
Certainly can, Crobley.
What did you think? What was it like?
Yes, look, it's a little bit slippery. I think since that rain that it actually has washed the track a little bit. Doesn't quite have the grip that we're all looking for. So look, we got a clean lap out of the way, and now obviously we'll start tomorrow.
Hey, Craig, Matty White here. Nobody's really busting it up the top of the circuit. Is there any difference up there?
Yeah, I just think there's no grip. You go down over into the grid, and you just get a little bit of understeer. I ran a little bit wide going over Reed Park, and I didn't get the run down into Skyline that I wanted. But look, them's the brakes. It's the same for everyone.
I love it how you talk with your hands. Give us a wave, can you? Just to your left.
That way.
You lunatic.
See ya.
Good job.
Thanks, guys.
And given who he's driving with, he should look around and check, make sure nothing's been pinched out of that car as well. So here we go. This fellow here, Greg Murphy, Pepsi Max crew. Hasn't he delivered over a long period of time at this racing track? His moment back in 2003 remains one of the all-time moments at this racetrack.
Well, what about that? You go from a 5-time winner who owns the fastest time around this circuit, Craig Lowndes. He did it in practice last year, you remember, to a 4-time winner who delivered us that qualifying lap record. The lap of the gods in 2003. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you just think about it. What has Greg Murphy got in 2011 in car 11? Off he goes.
Very accurate through the first turn. He pulled it up late, got it to the apex, used all of the exit space. So, nice opening account.
So clean and tidy has been the way for the first 5 drivers out.
Did you hear the engine just flaring onto the limiter in 5th gear over the top of the crest of the hill there on Mountain Straight? Greg's one of the few left foot breakers in the field. Beautiful entry into the cutting. You hear the front of the car just scuffing. Pulls third gear early not to end up sliding across the top of the bump.
That marker there belongs to Will Davison, but 52.3 is good because it's lower than Craig Lowndes', which was the fastest to the first sector at 52.4 Lowndes did. So here comes Murph again. He is flying.
Oh, he's got it onto the limiter on the run to the cutting, on the run to the skyline, I should say. And he's one of the few guys that we've seen so far that's attacked the curve up at McPhillamy.
Pepsi Max crew and Kelly Racing, top left. Will Davison, currently provisional pole sitter, bottom left. Watching the second sector time. It should be a good one. It is a good one. Another green box for the flying Kiwi.
Now it's all about braking. How brave is he going to be at the bottom of the hill? It's now in top gear. Sizing up the chase. Just on 300 kilometres an hour. Uses the apron, commits it. Lights on late, waits for the car to settle and then gets maximum brake pressure on the car. Flies her up on two wheels in second gear. This might stick. It might be enough.
Well, this has been a point and shoot lap. And talk about bringing back the old times. Greg Murphy is doing it again here in the top 10 shootout at Bathurst. He goes to the top at 208.8. And they go nuts at Kelly Racing.
Yeah, good job, mate. First so far.
Fantastic job. Great job, Greg Murphy.
Wow. Well, your time stood for quite a while, Will, but it took something pretty good to beat it. Brett's?
Alan Simonson's with me. Wow, there's life left in Murph.
He certainly does very good around Bathurst, that's for sure. That was a very good lap, very good. Well done.
And it throws you guys right into contention.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were quickest in the practice leading up to the shootout, so it's been going really well. The car's good. Kelly Racing and our engineer Baz have done a fantastic job, and it's just great to be here in the Pepsi Max car.
Alan, sleep well tonight. It's going to be a big day tomorrow.
Thanks. Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Well, what we got left, Davey Reynolds, Jamie Whincup, Mark Winterbottom and Garth Tander, and that was the crowd reaction as Murph crossed the line. So many ways, one of the people's champ up here. And this could be anything. 2007 Carrera Cup champ. First shootout here. It'll be anything because that's what he's telegraphed to us. We're just going to let it hang. I can't imagine David Reynolds holding back on this lap.
Well, he's a breath of fresh air, isn't he? I mean, he just tells it as it is. He wears his heart on his sleeve, but what he does do is he drives a racing car very, very well. 110% fully committed. His qualifying has been terrific this year. It's his first Bathurst shootout. What a moment for him.
There's smoke pouring everywhere. Something has come from the gearbox.
He's talking about smoke in the cockpit.
And a gearbox. So he's already highlighted some problems.
Press on, mate, press on.
That's not the distraction you need at the beginning of the lap. They've told him to press on.
Smoke in the cockpit.
He didn't get it turned in. Wasn't right down in the slot, right down in the gutter. The apex at turn 2.
This would be a real shame if he's got a problem straight out of the box on the start of this lap. And this will reference it. 52.35 was Murph's 53.1, so almost a second out of it. He's as laid back a character as you're ever going to meet, Dave Reynolds. But he won't be a happy camper.
Qualified third in Townsville. Up on the streets in Queensland earlier in the year. We've seen some cracker races from him so far this year.
Well, he's just great to watch. And in that qualifying session to get into that top 10 shootout, he did it literally on his last lap as the flag dropped.
I don't know that it's a great idea, I mean, smoke or no smoke, to start discussing it on the run up to turn 2. I mean, you know, he's nearly a second away. For me, I don't care if it's smoking. Just get out there and wring its neck and then hand it back at the end and say it's smoking. I mean, it doesn't matter, does it?
That's why the engineers loved you so much. So this one has gone away for Dave Reynolds. He's still pushing on. And at the end of the day, the good news is he's going to start the Bathurst 1000 inside the top 10. There's no point doing anything silly, which he won't. Stratco Racing will have a good, solid starting position. Whoa!
It did not stop well at all then. It had the rears locked. You could hear the tyres chattering all the way through the final corner. So, look, David's in. That's the important thing, but clearly uncomfortable.
Tim Blanchard pairing up with David Reynolds this weekend. So, 3 men left. Jamie Whincup with the next man out. Mark Winterbottom and Garth Tander still to come as well. Welcome back. Well, the mountain has been very kind to this man over the last few years, Jamie Whincup, but right now it's turned nasty on him. As he prepares for his shootout lap, look at that, the rain is coming down. Team Vodafone, Mark Dutton and Adrian Burgess look on. They can't believe it. Jamie is headed out and it started to rain quite heavily. It doesn't look bad there coming down Conrod Straight, but I can tell you up the top of the mountain especially, it is really coming down. And what this will point to, Crompo, is Greg Murphy has it sewn up. Pole position will virtually be in the bag for Murph.
Matty, they are watching the screens very closely here in the Pepsi Max garage. Greg Murphy, congratulations. That was a great lap.
Oh, you know, a bit early over there was a bit of rain at the top, which probably might have a bit of an effect on it. But, yeah, I thought it was actually a little bit better than that. I was a little bit surprised to see the time. So I knew Will had done an 8.8, but wasn't quite sure. But, you know, it actually felt pretty good. You know, I was just loved every minute of that. That was just sensational. This place is just fantastic, you know, and just can't get enough of it.
Well done, Murph. We'll watch with interest.
Yeah, we will. We certainly bloody will.
Well, if Murph loved every minute of it, you've got to say that Jamie Whincup is going to hate every minute of this, because when he arrives up to the top of the mountain, it is going to be as slippery as it will get out. It's going to be very, very hard for him.
Across the top, mate. It's pissing across the top. Caution, mate.
And Mark Dutton just advising Jamie the last thing he wants to do is talk to his driver on this lap, but that's the reason, because it's diabolical. And I just heard Garth Tander talking to his crew.
No stress. Just bring it through safely.
It's game over. Garth Tander's talking about not even bothering to drive out the gate on his lap, because you cannot drive on a slick tyre in those conditions. And this was always the threat. There was this chance of showers. That's why I said at the start of the shootout, for now, we're okay. But this kind of weather has been surrounding Mount Panorama for the last few days, and I think we're in for more of it tomorrow.
It's just extraordinary when you think about it. The ups and downs of a Bathurst weekend. In qualifying, this car went hard into the wall. Front and rear damage all over the place. They pieced it back together. Oh!
Seriously?
He's got to back out of it.
Yeah, that's as close as I mean, what Jamie's trying to do at the moment, keeping in mind if the others do go out, he can still elevate himself at the back end of this top 10.
Mate, no risk. You're already massively off the pace, obviously, so don't stress, mate. Just bring it home safely.
That's Mark Dutton code for don't put it in the wall. And he'll have Roland Dane, the team principal, right behind him, screaming in his ear, saying we don't need to go through another process like we did 2 days ago, where they lost 4 shock absorbers, a diff housing, a cross member, and all of the other bits in between.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the bounce back to get it through qualifying and get it back on into the shootout was extraordinary, and now they've been delivered this knockout blow in terms of going for pole position. Just check it out.
This has been the story of the weekend. It's so difficult to get a rhythm going. I mean, it's springtime. That's how it is here at this time of the year.
It's Bathurst.
It's Bathurst. And we've been through, most unfortunately, a long period of drought. But in the recent past, that's been anything but the case here. It's very wet, it's very green. In and around the environment here, it's just so muddy and wet. What a shame.
Nice job. Tough conditions, obviously. We're 8th. That doesn't matter. Yeah, great job.
What can you say?
Wasn't much to say, was there, for Mark Dutton to Jamie Whincup. So this is up at turn 2. Oh, dear. About that stage, I reckon Jamie was wishing that he was sitting back in the garage.
And that'd be such a horrible, deflating feeling in the cockpit of the car when you saw this happening, when you've got yourself all psyched to put together what you hope to be the best lap of the year, and then it rains.
Jamie Whincup should have us on the line. Matty White here. Jamie, I just can't imagine how disappointed you are.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Matty.
Lost you on the way, mate. We'll wish you all the best for tomorrow's race, wherever you end up inside the top 10. But heartbreaking. So the question is, Mark Winterbottom next out. Garth Tander out after him.
What he's just said a moment ago is he's just going to lightly road the tyres, just give them a roll around and park it. And I'm not sure whether or not Garth will even bother. What a shame. But there you go. That's how it is. This guy was ultra fast here last year.
He won't be this year.
No. Unbelievable.
There's not many guarantees you can have, but at least we could say that.
Just skating around. It's got brand new green Dunlop controlled tyres on it. Hard tyres, of course. We're not using the soft tyre here this weekend. 4 pole positions for Mark Winterbottom in 2011. Pole here last year. And this will be one of the most painful laps. But as I said a little bit earlier in the day, I think this weather and this trend of showers passing is a fact of life that everybody now has to deal with. They're going to have to put their cars in a position where they work in a whole range of different track conditions, from dry to partially wet to fully wet and everything in between.
It's going to be a very interesting pairing to watch, this one in car 5. Ford Performance Racing still looking for a breakthrough victory at Mount Panorama. Frosty looking for his first race win of the season. You mentioned he's got 4 pole positions. He's got Stevie Richards with him this weekend. They know each other well. They know the team well. They know the mountain well. They're going to be inside the top 10. What we've been denied is a typical Mark Winterbottom crack at pole position, because he's extraordinarily good at leaving it to the last second.
There's a split. Nearly 18 seconds off the first split to Greg Murphy. Did you hear the car when it came out of turn 4 out of the cutting, just in second gear, as all wheels spin? And it's hard for folks at home to imagine just how you've got to drive the cars on a slick tyre and a wet track, and just these guys. So frustrating for them, but it's without grooves in the tyre to get the water out from between the surface of the tyre and the surface of the road, there just is no grip to skate around. So that's why he's got to literally tippy-toe around here.
This is why with this place, like any motor race, but especially here, you take your luck when it's put in front of you. Think about the story of Will Davison. Not too long ago, he was outside the top 10. He wasn't going to be part of this shootout yesterday after qualifying. Courtesy of a penalty to car 33, Will gets bumped up into the 10. He goes out first in pure sunshine and delivers a 2:08.8 and will start from the front row of the grid. Then Greg Murphy gets the good conditions, pieces it together and delivered another great Murph lap at the right time. And he'll have pole position. He's second here, first since 2003 here, and first in 6 years in the championship.
And spare a thought for one guy who'll be sitting downstairs at the moment in his garage, quietly watching the monitors, Lee Holdsworth. Those guys in there are going to be very, very disappointed that they didn't have an opportunity to play.
So Frosty completes this lap as a mere formality. So he'll be starting from 9th.
Continue on at less than that pace, I think. Yeah, so you thought, what are going to be 9th or 10th? It's worse than when Jamie was out. What's the point, you know?
Murph's keeping it real. Hey, Mark Winterbottom, it's Matty White here. That's a slow old way to go around Mount Panorama, isn't it?
I should be driving like this, mate. Driving Miss Daisy across the top. She's pretty... That was terrible, but... yeah, not much fun. That is not much fun at all. But anyway, it is what it is.
All right, you're inside the top 10. Day starts afresh tomorrow. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
So 1 man left. The question is, for Garth Tander, can he beat the 2 minutes 52.06 set by Frosty and start from 9th, not 10th? Although I did hear Mark say to Campbell Little that it was getting wetter up there and it was worse than when Jamie was out there.
Not ideal.
So Greg on the verge of his second pole position at Bathurst. Garth Tander.
Yeah, mate, your call. You can do the lap. It's TV coverage, of course. 252 for the bottom, 252, but don't feel any.
He ran out of road then. So and nearly ran out of road again. He wanted to be a bit careful here. I mean, all that he can do, hope to do, is switch sides on the grid. He's going to be on row 5 with Mark Winterbottom. It's just a question of whether he's on the inside or the outside, in other words, 9th or 10th. It's hard to imagine that he can find the 20 seconds that'll be required to get Whincup in these conditions. I understand that the Toll Holden Racing Team actually asked, if possible, to delay, not surprisingly, the departure of this car from the pit lane, and the request was denied, not surprisingly.
Until the Super Sopper went out there and soaked it up.
I think you need more than that at the moment.
So this will be a long way off his 2:07.66 that he's set to be the provisional pole sitter. Larko?
I don't have a Jamie Whincup. Let's be frank, mate, that sucks. That was just tough luck, mate.
Yeah, it's a bit of a non-event, really. Big lap, probably the biggest lap of the year, and I've been gearing myself up for a couple of hours beforehand, and yeah, that's the way it goes. You can't. That's something that's out of your control, you know, and that's you learn in sport. Just forget about that and worry about the things you can control.
Mate, I was a bit surprised how committed you were, though, across McPhillamy. A great slide, great car control. I didn't know if that was a show, but obviously you're trying to keep Garth Tander and Winterbottom behind you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're just fighting for the last 2 spots there. So I've got, I think, for Frosty, just backed it right off, and Garth will have a crack. We'll see if we can get in front of him.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, and that point that Jamie makes, you know, for the last couple of hours, that's all he's been thinking of. It's consumed his life just thinking his way through this lap, how he'd approach it, where there was some time left on the table, little things that he wanted to tidy up to try and find a 10th or 2 here and there. And then that deflating feeling when he was the first driver to see water on the screen out there. It's almost like, no, stop, wait, let me do my lap. Can't be done, though. So Tander at the top of the mountain, half a lap remaining for the 2011 Supercheap Auto Bathurst 1000 Shootout. And then it's all done, and Greg Murphy is going to grab another pole position at this location.
It's been that way since pretty much Thursday, hasn't it, Crompo? This whole event has had that feel about it where you just can't get into a rhythm. In fact, we said earlier in one of the broadcasts that there's no rhyme or reason to Bathurst. You've got to play the hand that is dealt to you. And you wonder what's in store for us tomorrow if it's going to continue like this. It's been a stop-start qualifying, stop-start practice.
So just finish the lap off as safe as you can.
And it's going to be about those who can think very quickly on their feet, not damage their car, and deal with all these variants. And there's going to be a lot of them, it seems. Today, they were talking about showers clearing and then sort of ongoing intermittent showers through the day. Tomorrow, it's kind of the opposite. They're saying that it's showers developing. So I think it'll be more about the story at the end of the race. Now, Tander here actually might nudge this time, even though I said that couldn't be done, but it may have dried off just a fraction. He's certainly pressing on as Jamie said he would. No. There you go. Well done, Greg Murphy.
8 years since that lap of the gods. He's done it again. And a first for Kelly Racing. The Pepsi Max crew will start from pole position for the great race. Murphy and Alan Simonson. The Kiwi and the Dane. How's that for a great international mix? So 208.8 was enough to do it. Will Davison will start from the front row of the grid. Lowndes and Courtney will start from the second row. The Giz and Steve Owen, Dave Reynolds, and then Jamie Whincup and Tander and Winterbottom. The tale of woe in the rain. Murph will join us on the set right after the break. You know, it's been 6 years since Greg Murphy had pole position in the V8 Supercar Championship. A few years more than that up here at Bathurst. But after this lap, $2.5 make it $5,000 if you please from Armour All for Murph's pole position here with Alan Simonson to start from P1 for the Supercheap Auto Bathurst 1000 tomorrow. Take it when it's there, and he delivered at the right time. So let's run you through this Fuso start grid for tomorrow's race. Kelly Racing, the Pepsi Max crew, starting from the front with Trading Post Racing of Will Davison and Luke Youlden. So there are positions 1 and 2. Positions 3 and 4, well, they go to Craig Lowndes and Mark Scaife, and James Courtney with Cam McConville will start from the second row of the grid. take you through that when we get it all sorted, because it might be a good time for us to talk to the man on the desk who's bought his check with us. I don't think you're going to leave it behind. Murph, back in 2003, your lap was called the Lap of the Gods, and all of a sudden, the heavens have played their part in this one as well. I mean, what are you, the spiritual guru of Bathurst?
Oh, no, but something happened up there to make it all happen today. I mean, the timing was obviously pretty impeccable, and, you know, it's played out pretty good.
All right, let's take a look at this starting grid, and we'll get more thoughts off you in just a second. So this is row 3, Shane Van Gisbergen and John McIntyre. Steve Owen did a pretty good job. He'll have Paul Morris with him for VIP Pet Food starting from 6th. And then these are the guys. David Reynolds had his own troubles. The rain didn't bother him, but then from Whincup onwards, well, that's when the heavens opened and they could not post a time. So Garth Tander from provisional pole will start from 9th with young Nick Percat. Mark Winterbottom, another 2-time pole sitter here, goes to position number 10. Lee Holdsworth was inside the 10 after qualifying but was penalised, so he will start from 11th spot. Paul Dumbrell and Dean Canto next to him. There's Alex Davison and David Brabham. Michael Caruso and Marcus Marshall make up 13 and 14.
And looking further down the order, remember that the grid tomorrow represents 29 cars. We've got Tim Slade, newly signed for Lucky 7 Racing with Kiwi Daniel Gawn. Rick and Owen Kelly, no relation, position 16. It's been a bit frustrating for them in the Jack Daniels car, the sister car, the bloke sitting alongside. Well, he's made it stick this weekend. James Moffat, Matt Halliday, Jim Beam Racing out of 17, 18. Jason Bright and Andrew Jones for Team BOC and Brad Jones. Todd Kelly and David Russell, car number 7, Jack Daniels Racing. Fabian Coulthard and Craig Baird, the fast Kiwi, next. And he's hoping that for Fab, it's a little more peaceful at the start of the 2011 race than it was last year.
And ditto too for Jason Bargwanna, that it's more peaceful than it has been in the lead-up, because he found the wall hard at the end of qualifying. Tony D'Alberto's back after suffering a bout of the chicken pox at the Phillip Island event, so he's back with Dale Wood. There's Russell Ingall and Jack Perkins way back in 25th. Ingall and Perkins, the famous combination, back together, but this time it's young Jack, John Webb and Richard Lyons. And there's Carl Reindler, David Wall for Fair Dinkum Sheds Racing, Dean Fiore and Michael Patrizzi, who's had success already this weekend in the Carrera Cup Porsches. Two great mates. And at the rear of the grid, 29 cars make up the field, so 58 drivers. Grant Denyer with Cameron Waters, the youngest man ever to start a Bathurst event. Now, Mr. Murphy. 2:08. Pretty much flat, did it around here, and you said you weren't quite happy with the lap, but you got to take them when they come, and it was a good performance.
Oh, I was pretty happy with it. I actually just felt it was actually faster than what it was. So the grip was down a bit, but you know, it felt fantastic. I just enjoy every minute around here, and it just so happens that my timing was pretty impeccable, and that happened to us a couple of years ago. We had to start when the track was damp and it dried, and you know, it's the situation up here. It can happen, and the weather plays a big part. It has done all weekend, so although I couldn't care less with that now, I'm happy.
You do love the place though, don't you? I mean, it was a beautiful lap, Greg, I've got to say. Congratulations. And thanks, the car it just looked fantastic. You were committed. Even as you walked in here a moment ago, you looked at me and said, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, you know, and that's what it's all about. You know, we've got to keep giving this place the respect it deserves, and it will be to the day I die just the best bit of road I ever race on, and just get so much enjoyment out of having the opportunity to be on this track, you know.
Well, let's have a look at the lap, Greg, and we'll look at the whole thing, and you can critique your own performance. But the thing that we made mention of in the com box was you hit all the marks. You know, you didn't leave anything on the table. You would never have thought you'd get pole round here today with an 8.8.
No, and that's my point. I really thought it was fast. It actually, the car it felt really good. It did everything I wanted it to do. You know, it got on the brakes good. It stuck to the line here the camber on the road, as you know, you've got to get into, and it stuck good there. And I was on the throttle early, felt early. We'll look at the data, and I'll look like a second-rate citizen probably, but used all the road, and it just never sort of put a foot wrong. Didn't really lock a brake.
A lot of the guys had trouble up the top of the mountain, Murph. How did you find it up there?
No, it was good, as I said. You know, I think I left a little bit on the table going over Skyline. I got there and realised I'd sort of cleared the brake because I hadn't gone in deep enough. But through here, it felt fantastic, and used all the road. It was good at McPhillany. Just had a bit of a wobble there because I went reasonably deep, and that might have been a bit of the grip, just not having quite the grip. But it probably left a little bit on the table, as I said there. It was a bit of a lock-up. tight. You know, found all the marks you say. Got the apexes. So.
It never really came unstuck anywhere, did it? I mean, just looking at it now, it's in the gutters everywhere. You're able to use the full width of the road from the apex to the exit, throttle in early everywhere, including here. We made mention of it. So it was a great run on, and then it was a question of just pulling it up at the bottom of the chase.
Yeah, and I knew I'd left something yesterday there in qualifying. You know, looking at the data between all our cars, and certainly Dave Reynolds had found a bit of time under brakes, so I knew I had to go a bit deeper today, and I did. The car was actually on the limiter for the first time this weekend going through the chase, so so I got a good run.
A few of your competitors are unhappy, so they've declared war. That's the reason why the FA18 is flying overhead at the moment. They're after you, Murph.
Yeah. Well, I can feel what they'd be going through at the moment. I mean, at the end of the day, there was a couple of guys there that I definitely would have been worried about that could have maybe done a faster time if the conditions had stayed the same. So, boys were happy.
And it's great reward for an enormous crew of people. You've got 5 cars across your stable here this weekend, and you and I both know how much they give to make a racing car fast, and have done. It's a very young team. They've worked very hard, so this is just reward.
They are a young team, and this year I think Rick's done an amazing job early in the season. He's had a couple of wins there and put the thing on pole in New Zealand, and he's been giving it every single thing he can to bring the team forward, and he's helped me a lot this year, working together with him and using him with his experience with that car, and we're making good progress, and I'm really enjoying it, and I feel comfortable. This weekend, most comfortable I've been in this car all year, and I'm hoping that's going to continue.
Tomorrow will be your 19th start around here, Murph.
Yeah.
You've found the checkered flag 4 times and been on the top step of the podium. What are you thinking after that? I mean, does pole position, can it really translate into victory? It has for you before.
Well, it can, of course it can. But the cliches will come out. It's a long race. But at the end of the day, we've ticked all our boxes till now, and we start the race tomorrow, and we've just got one big one to tick. So if things go the way we plan, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that if that car wasn't as good as what it was then, and I was as comfortable as what I was. So we'll see what happens.
All right, then the rain came down and the world fell apart for the guys who came after you. I guess you were really sad about that.
Cut up.
But check this out. I mean, poor old Jamie Whincup was the first to get there.
This is the worst scenario, trying to drive one of these things on slick tyres, and you've got your windscreen wiper on. So it's tough. As I say, it's happened before. We've been on the other end of it, but this was a bit worse. It was actually coming down pretty hard.
And at this point, the drivers have got themselves wound into a pretty tight ball,
absolutely.
Because for the last few hours since the last practice, had a lot of time to think about it. Those that did make it into the top 10 are mentally rehearsing, going through, thinking about every corner, where you can grab a bit that you left on the table. And I did feel for Jamie. He was the first of the drivers out there with the water on the screen, and it just got worse and worse.
I mean, big threat. Mark Winterbottom, he puts this. How many times has he been on pole? Twice. Garth Tan is a shootout pro, so they were all definite threats, and who knows, we won't know now if one of them would have gone faster or not. I was surprised by the times that were put on the table before the rain came. I thought they'd be quicker.
It's been a long time between drinks, so hasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's been a long time, mate. Was it 05 at Indy?
Yep, and 03, of course, back here, which I'm sure you don't forget.
No, I don't forget that one. Wasn't quite that lap today, but it was good enough to sneak up on Will and do the job.
And you mentioned the word respect, which I find really fascinating. You have the ultimate respect for this circuit, which is probably why you've had the success that you've had here. Do you translate that into the race?
Oh, totally. I mean, I think we've seen plenty of times guys try and win this thing way too early. It's not about the first 10 laps, and things come unstuck if you don't do that. And I think I've had patience when necessary before, and you need to, because you've just got to build up slowly and take your time and make sure, obviously, that whoever's in front doesn't get too far away.
It's likely to be a very big part of tomorrow's race when you consider that we're most likely going to see a repeat of these conditions again, Greg. So the guys that have been through it before, you've been round here when it's completely dry, hailed, partially wet, crazy wet, and everything in between, and you've got to buy yourself a good position to that last tank of fuel.
Absolutely, and the fuel economy these days is bigger than we've ever, bigger importance than we've ever had before, and we're fully aware of it.
All right, well, the man who's going to start alongside you on the grid will be Will Davison, who's really had a change of fortunes, and he's with Larker.
Well, mate, great lap, and I say that because trying conditions, you were a pioneer. We could see it was tough across the top. How did it feel to you? Because we saw the team reaction. and probably your reaction, we thought, oh, it didn't look good enough. But ultimately, front row, mate, great job.
Yeah, either way, I mean, worst case, we were going to be 5th. I think possibly even better. So considering being the first car out, I was on my warm-up lap. The curbs were muddy. There was some wet verges. And I was really trying to feel how much grip I had, and I actually did quite a fast out lap over the top just because we haven't done any dry laps today. So even to get myself in the zone a little bit over the top and, you know, get everything happening, trying to get some confidence in all those brave corners. And, you know, I knew there wasn't as much grip as yesterday. I knew I drove the car pretty hard. The engine felt really good down Conrad. I was hard on the limiter. I knew I finished the lap well, and 8.8 came up. And I was in two minds, I really was. But I had a feeling, though, that it might be all right.
Nice to see you on the front row, buddy.
That's great. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Car 6 and car 11 will be on the front row. Murph, congratulations on your pole position.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for the ride today. It was great fun. Best of luck tomorrow.
Cheers, guys.
Back after the break.
The emotions on race start, it's what I do this job for, it's what I live for. You can't explain the butterflies when you look into the crowd and see the people that have been camping out all night, see all the Ford flags, the Holden flags. It's the race everyone lives for.
Bathurst is such a unique race, and there's so much spectacle, there's so much build-up, and you know there's so much ceremony going on before the race even starts that it's easy to get carried away with it, and it's easy to get caught in the emotion and the nerves get the better of you.
It's an army. You're going out there to fight for your team and for another bloke, and you feel that on the grid, and the pressure and the nerves are worse than anywhere else.
You've got a lot of expectation on your shoulders, but it's an exciting feeling as well, and all you want to do is get in that car at 10 o'clock and start the race and start that gruelling 6.5 hours.
Is this history in the making? So we've had qualifying, we've had practice, we've had the top 10 shootout. Now we have the race tomorrow. Lock it in, folks. 7 a.m. on 7 and also 7 Mate, where the entire day and race will be live and in high definition as well. Simulcast on 7 Mate, v8supercars.com.au, but pretty much all day, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. We've been talking about patience and rhythm and how hard it's been to get that up to this stage of the weekend. How will they put that into race world?
Well, it's a really interesting question, Matty, because we've had so many different types of track conditions out there that nobody's had a run. Nobody really knows what sort of car they're going to have under them as they phase through an entire load of fuel. And there are a couple of things to really focus on when we get this race underway tomorrow, because typically we look at the first couple of rows and we talk about them and all of our favourites are mixed in there. But when you've got people, for example, like Winterbottom and Tander and Whincup and Holdsworth and what have you, all around that 10th position or thereabouts, there's going to be a race within a race. Patience, the word you used a few moments ago, is going to have to be in strong evidence tomorrow, because if you get involved in a scuffle and get damage on the car early, or you start to hook into the fuel or damage tyres, that you'll pay a price.
So it's an early start tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and of course we've got the warm-up as well. Live all day tomorrow, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000. Can Ford Performance Racing get their first win? Can 888 keep that streak going? Can Greg Murphy get his 5th win? What surprises will the Mountain have in store? Don't miss it. We'll see you tomorrow for the big one, the best one, the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000.
Hold on to the line.